Greetings, one and all, to the most cursed, most cringiest corner of the internet. A YouTube channel content creator actively alienating everyone in both the analog and digital world. Welcome and good evening, wonderful dice of all alignments. I am Lunar D8. This is Let's Play Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 6. Tsumihoroboshi. My Summer Picture Diary. Today I went to a swimming pool with my mom. Uncle Akihito came with us too. I don't like him because he's sometimes mean to me, but he's a very kind and funny old man. He told me to call him Daddy for that day because he was going to play with me at the pool like he was my daddy. My mom called him Daddy, so I did too. Uncle Akihito looked very happy and gave me a lot of money. My mom looked very happy, and it made me happy too. I want to play with him again. I hope my dad can come with us next time. I opened the window, placed my cushion nearby, and prepared to enjoy the weather. But she came over and disrupted my peaceful evening. She always ruins my time of solitude. You look pleased. Oh, that's right, you ate lots of your favorite sweets today. This girl loves sweets more than anything. I like them too. But I can't eat like she does. It'd give me heartburn if I ate the amount she ate today. She seemed to be very happy, so I'll leave her alone for a while. I'd been making my favorite hot, salty food for the past few days, so she must be quite pleased today. It was a very fun day for me too. I just wanted to enjoy the memory of the excitement I felt today by sitting here quietly enjoying the sunset. But when I looked up at that sky, I saw some thick clouds forming there. The wind was a bit cooler than usual. It might start raining soon. People say that when deep-sea animals come up to the shallows, it's a sign of a big earthquake or a tsunami. We saw a very rare fish that dwells in the deep water in the shallows today. Are you talking about an oarfish? Just as the ancient stories of sea monsters say, people hate deep-sea animals and tend to interpret them as omens of disaster. It didn't matter if they showed up alive or dead. I said something interesting just now. Even if they showed up alive or dead, it was an omen of disaster. Oh, it might start raining soon. Yeah, I know. You don't have to tell me. I'll get the laundry. I grabbed a basket and went outside to take the laundry in. The clouds were getting darker. I normally like the rain, but I didn't think I'd enjoy it today. I went and got a drink. You guys ever hear of a company called Spindrift? They sell carbonated water with a little bit of fruit juice added in. It's 8% juice, rest is water. The ingredients, I got this from Walmart. The ingredients are carbonated water, pineapple juice, and citric acid. That's it. It says inside there's no sugar added and has 15 calories. Total of 3 grams of sugar. Oh, it says 4 grams of carbohydrates. I got pineapple this time. But yeah, it's carbonated water with real fruit juice, and I usually get a different flavor. But at least it's actually very healthy. And of course, no caffeine. Because even though it's I think probably 12:15 or something right now in the afternoon. For me, this is late at night. Technically, it's a little bit past my bedtime. Heck, I work third shift. So, I'll get up. I'll go to bed after I record and post this video. And when I wake up, the sun will still be in the sky. And I'll be getting ready for work. And when I get off work, I'll usually get off work a couple of hours after the sun already rises back up in the sky. I'll drink some Mountain Dew or V8 Energy. Yes, occasionally I'll still drink an actual straight up energy drink, like Full Throttle. But for the most part, I try to keep myself limited to like tea or V8 with energy, or like a can of Mountain Dew or something. But that'll be when I wake up. I do my best to try to avoid caffeine before bedtime. And like I said, right now it's technically a little bit past what should be my bedtime. But as long as I go to bed by 1, I should be able to get a solid 6 hours. So that's still really good. Do you guys like higurashi? Hey, good morning, Rena. You're late today. You're just early today, Keiichi-kun. I'm not trying to put aside the fact that I'm always late, but it feels good to defeat you once in a while. How? I slept in this morning. I couldn't sleep last night. Oh, you too? Yeah, same here. I was still feeling yesterday's uproar. It took me a long time to go to sleep. Yesterday I had a lot of fun with my friends. We went home, still riding that high. We had a lot of sugar, Keiichi. I was too full to eat dinner. I was talking to my parents of the great time I had over the past few days. I was so pumped that I couldn't go to sleep. Kinda sounds like I'm a little kid. But given that Rena seemed to be the same way, I felt better about it. No, I felt better isn't the right way of phrasing it. I should say, I'm glad to know that we shared the same feeling. Rena went treasure hunting after I left. I'm sure she found many adorable things, went home and talked with her parents about how great the day was. Hey, Mi-chan. Hey, Mi-chan. Good morning. Oh, you're here early. Better watch out for the pigs falling from the sky. I know I usually make you wait for me, but do you really have to say it like that? Haha, Keiichi-kun was unusually early this morning. Today is full of miracles. Haha, you're one to talk yourself. It's going to be another happy day today. I had fun the day before yesterday. I had fun yesterday. So I'm going to have fun today for sure. I'm happy and Mion is happy too. Of course, Rena and my other friends are equally happy. I'm not afraid to say it. And I wish these happy days would last forever. Hey, Mion, what are we playing today? What, for club? I don't know yet. Rena, do you have any ideas? Let's see. We've been playing athletic games the past few days, so I'd like something not athletic. You're right. That's a very good point. Our club is not only about athletic performance, is it? Of course it's not. Our club members have to have brains, skill, and brawn to boot. So why don't we play some tabletop games today? Everybody was early this morning. We could enjoy our walk to school for once. After a while, we started talking about the upcoming festival. They told me that the festival was called Utanagashi, and that it's the biggest event of the year in Hinamizawa. Yesterday, my relatives gathered at my house in Okonomiya, and they started talking about you, Kei-chan. What, me? What did the great people of the Sonozaki family talk about? Well, my uncle Yoshiro is the store manager of Angelmore, and he saw your performance yesterday. He really likes you now. So I started asking the others if they had already heard of you, and I found out that most of them did. They said you're famous in Hinamizawa. Famous. Doesn't sound like they meant it in a good way. I'm probably more infamous to them because of the punishments you made me do. It's not only that. They said that you blend in well, that you're full of energy, and that you're a little bit reckless. They said it's rare for a young man in this era to have all those qualities. They were very impressed with you. I'm also secretly from Hinamizawa, but I was like a baby when I left this fucking place. So I don't remember that, and my parents haven't told shit. I felt a bit embarrassed to know that people I haven't even met were speaking well of me. And so they want you to do something at the Watanagashi Festival. You like to draw people's attention, don't you? Hey! Don't assume things, and don't decide anything without me. Don't you know I'm a quiet, lonely guy who loves to be alone and read my manga? Ah, lonely guy. You mean Cherry Boy, don't you? Heh. Huh? What's a cherry boy? How, Keiichi-kun, what does cherry boy mean? Whoa. Stop talking about nasty things. Ladies don't talk about things like that. We really were still feeling the after effects of yesterday. Mion and I made a lot of noise teasing each other on the way to school. Rena watched us and laughed happily. Satoko and Rika-chan were already there when we arrived at school. They were also full of energy. Tomita-kun and Okamura-kun were too. From that, I can tell that they also had a good time yesterday. Everybody has been having a good time, really. In Hinamizawa, everybody is happy. It hasn't even been a year since I moved here, but... What is it? Well, I'm just glad that I moved here. What's wrong, Kei-chan? You're being sentimental. I understand. I understand exactly how you feel. You feel like everything is perfect, that you've become happy since you've moved to Hinamizawa. I think this village has some kind of power to make people feel that way. Are you happy, Rena? Yes. I'm happy every day here in Hinamizawa. Yes, me too. Hey! Don't leave this old man out in the cold. Let me in on the conversation, too. The sky was clear, and the few thin clouds were pure white. The cry of the cicadas was telling me that summer would be coming earlier than usual. Watanagashi. is just around the corner. I'm sure we'll have great fun at the festival too. There will be more and more fun days to come. I'm sure of it. Summer is just around the corner. Do you guys like Watanagashi? Do you guys like higurashi? Have you watched the animes? How many of the videos of me reading this game have you listened to? Hopefully I haven't been too boring. Hopefully I haven't been too erratic with the times I've gone off on crazy tangents and talked about random shit. I'm at least trying to stay more focused on actually playing the games. I tend to get distracted. The last class of the day was finally over, meaning that it was time for club activities. I was sure it would be fun. I couldn't wait. But then Mi-chan received a call and told us something had come up and she had to go. So we didn't have a club meeting today. Tisk. I was really looking forward to it. There was nothing I could do, but I could at least chat with Keiichi-kun on the way home. It'll be fun. Keiichi-kun sometimes says mean things, but he's very funny. When I chat with him, my depression goes away. Wait. What did I just say? Am I depressed? I have so much fun every day, and I'm as happy as I can be. What did I have to be depressed about? Well, it was obvious. Because of Rina-san, my father is happy now. Before he met her, he was like a lamp in broad daylight. Honestly, he was like the living dead. But after he met Rina-san, he started to smile like he used to when he was living with my mother. He enjoyed talking with her and started going out with her. You could probably say they went on dates. Now he looks 10, no 20 years younger. Rina-san gets along well with my father, really very well, and she's very kind to me too. There's actually no reason for me to hate her, but the bitter memories of my parents' divorce and my many regrets were gradually eating away at my heart. Was it okay to accept that woman? Rina-san might be the same as Uncle Akihito How turned out to be. Is she the enemy who takes my happiness away with her very existence, with or without bad intentions? Am I going to sit around until everything collapses again? Should I fight the enemy before it's too late? Rina-san comes to my house a little too obviously. Since my father started letting her stay the night, many of her belongings have turned up in the house. My father and I don't smoke, but there's an ashtray in the living room. The futon in our guest room is hers now. In the bathroom there's a toothbrush and shampoo I'd never choose to buy. I started to feel awkward about those things, and that's when I started noticing it at the front door when I came home from school. Her perfume. I asked my father once if he was thinking about getting married to Rina-san. He looked a little embarrassed, perplexed, and confused. He told me, not yet. He knew I was hurt by the divorce. That's probably why he couldn't admit that he wanted to remarry. That's why he said, not yet. He'd consider it, but not while I was still living with him. That's what he meant, I guess. There's only one reason why I don't want him to get remarried to Rina-san. I feel offended that my sanctum, my family, is being invaded. I might be being selfish, though. I know keeping my father all to myself means keeping him miserable like he was before he met Rina-san. He has a life to live too. It's his right to heal from the pain from the divorce and to live to find his new love. He wouldn't have to go through that painful life if I had prevented the divorce from happening in the first place. He has a right to a happy new life that lets him forget the pain he never deserved, and I don't have any right to stop him. In fact, I have an obligation to try to return his happiness to him. I have to pay for my sin, my inability to prevent his divorce. Then, what should I do to make both of us happy? It wouldn't be that difficult. All I'd need to do would be to give my silent approval of their relationship. My father tells me he won't get remarried while we live together. That means I should stop leaning on my family, be strong, and live on my own as soon as I can. Although that doesn't mean I can tell him not to go out with her until that day. Rina-san comes to our house to see him. Despite her busy schedule. And she even stays the night whenever her shifts permit. They're adults. I have no right to say anything against that. That's why I chose to give my silent approval to their relationship and try to see her as little as I could. I get along with Rina-san on the surface. I know my father would have a hard time keeping face if we didn't, but it's a very exhausting and painful thing to get along with a person I don't really like. So whenever Rina-san comes over, I spend as much time as possible outside, then head home late. Mi-chan's club activities are the most convenient things to do to kill time, but there are some days we don't have a club meeting. On those days, I while away my time at the garbage dump, hunting for treasure alone. And that's how I started to make my secret hideout. My father can do whatever he wants with Rina-san home. I don't have to see them together. I can spend my time peacefully at my hideout. I sometimes feel depressed about my life. I sometimes want to talk to somebody about it. But nothing will change, even if I talk to somebody. This is all I can really do. The most important thing for me should be to overcome the sadness of losing my family as fast as I could and to regain my own happiness. I have so much fun every day. I'm happy every day. Even on the way home, Keiichi-kun was talking about funny things that made me laugh. My feeling gloomy in spite of that was kind of rude. My father should be happy. I should be happy. I just feel sad because I still can't separate from my father. Compared to that unexpectedness of the divorce, Rina-san's invasion is a very slow process. I think Rina-san understands how I feel. She treats me very kindly, but she doesn't do more than that. I think she understands that I'd feel uncomfortable as she did. I respect Rika-chan because she's strong even without her parents. Compared to the pain of losing both her parents unexpectedly, my problem is like nothing. I respect Satoko-chan's toughness too. She also lost her parents and was forced to live a painful life under her uncle and aunt, compared to the cruel treatment she had to go through. My relationship with Rina-san is a blessed one. A blessed one. I keep feeling anxious, but that's just because I'm still immature, and because I feel like I'm not ready to separate from my father. I have to be strong like Rika-chan and Satoko-chan. I have to try my best to be happy. I'm going to live with all my might in order to regain the peace of mind that I lost that day. My assumption that I'm not happy is just a mistake. I should appreciate the wonderful days I spend with my wonderful friends. Just by realizing that I'm happy, the world shines so brightly. Listen. It was just so cute, so I screamed, I'm taking it home with me. I bet you did. You're an expert at making the most out of every day. I am, aren't I? I feel very fortunate to have a wonderful life and wonderful friends. How could I be unhappy? You're right. In Hinamizawa, nobody becomes unhappy. Everybody stays happy. Hinamizawa is free from misfortunes. He should have stopped right there, but he just kept going. I'm jealous of you, Rena. I wish I could be an idiotic optimist like you. How? It sounds like you're insulting me. But if that's what I need to make every day wonderful, I wouldn't mind. Isn't that called acute regression? We all have a little bit of that, don't we? Would I? I don't have any worries. I feel like I do, but that's just because I'm immature and still want my father's attention. Come on, say the magical words. It'll cheer you up. How? It didn't make sense to say it now, but I was going to say it anyway because this is my magical phrase that always cheers me up. How? Ha! I'm taking it home with me. Ha ha ha. What's wrong with you? That's still like you, but still. That's right. This is me, Rena. I'm not Rena. Rena still wants her parents' attention. Rena is a goofy, carefree girl. She knows that every day is full of happiness, and she has the kind heart to appreciate it too. I should forget about icky things. I should live a wonderful life free of anything icky. Icky starts with I, and that's why I got rid of the I in Rena. I'm Rena. I'm going to recapture the happiness I lost when I left Hinamizawa. I kind of feel like the I and Icky, like... I don't know if it... I mean, it probably only works in English, but like, I feel like it's a self-deprecation sort of thing, of low self-esteem. But again, I don't think that's intentional, because, you know, I don't think that correlation exists in the Japanese language. If it does, or if maybe it was a correlation they knew that would exist in English, but they chose to include it anyway because they knew, you know, that there was going to be an English version. That, and most people that speak Japanese actually can speak English. I want to learn Japanese eventually, but I want to learn German first, and then Japanese, and then French, and then Hebrew. I will overcome any pain and hardship. I can be happy because I got rid of the icky things. I'm sure there are only incredible things waiting for me. Oh, incredible starts with I too. I was almost home, and when my house appeared, I noticed something different there. There was a truck parked in front of my house. There was nothing on the back of it, but I could tell it brought something here, because I saw some cardboard boxes, blankets, and ropes on the ground. From the front of the house, I heard voices of two young men saying, "Well, we'll be going now." They passed me by as I walked towards the front door. They were wearing some kind of work uniforms. They looked like delivery people. My father was about to close the door when he noticed me. "Hey, I'm home. What's going on?" "Oh, Rena, I have a surprise for you." My father looked to be in a good mood. I didn't know why he was, but whenever he smiled like that, I just wanted to smile back at him. His eyes used to like those of a dead fish, no matter how hard I tried to smile at him. But these days, he could put on a big smile just to surprise me. He has been literally coming back to life since a year ago, when we moved back to Hinamizawa. No, since he started dating Rina-san. When I see him smile like this, I'm happy, but at the same time I feel confused, because I don't know whether I should thank Rina-san or not. Look, doesn't it look great? He took me to the living room. He was probably expecting me to go, and ah. So whether there was something in the living room or not, I was ready to go, oh, and ah for him. Wow, what? What is this? What did you do? I tried to sound excited and surprised. He was standing behind me, probably smiling with satisfaction at hearing my excited voice. I, on the other hand, was desperately trying to understand what was going on. For a moment, I thought I was in someone else's house. You see, the living room had been completely redecorated. The furniture we had was all basically from the former house of the Ibaraki. My parents bought most of the furniture when they got married, so it was all old and a little dirty. Some of them still had crayon scribbles I drew when I was little. I was very little. But all of that was gone. Obviously, it's a major change hitting on a thing that she feels is traumatic. So, part of her is still trying to... Well, at the same time, also, I think one of the traits of being autistic is having issues with change. I guess that's something that can be an overlap between autism and trauma. Though I wonder, if you were to evaluate all of the characters in higurashi, would you say any of them have any form of autism? Any of them have any form of ADHD? Depression? PTSD? Borderline personality disorder? Or just generally an otaku? I don't know. Everything in the living room had turned a pastel color, looking very sophisticated like the rooms you'd see in soap operas. The new carpet looked very tropical. The new curtains matched with the carpet. The new sofa looked very expensive. The new living room in general looked like a resort hotel. The channel switcher of our old TV was broken, and we used to have to use pliers to change channels, but it was gone too, replaced by a new one with a big screen. The room's lights had also been replaced by nicer-looking ones. The living room looked like a totally different world under the new fluorescent lights. This looks great, Dad. What made you do this? I did it to get a fresh start. It's been a year since we moved here. I thought it was time for me to reboot and finally start a new life. I suggested redecorating the house once in order to cheer him up, because he was still in pain after the divorce, but he wasn't interested at the time. He didn't want to get rid of the old furniture he had chosen with my mother because he still couldn't get over her even though she cruelly broke up with him. I wanted to suggest it again when the time was right. I never thought he'd do it on his own initiative. That was a good idea. Haha, this beautiful living room makes me feel refreshed. I love it. I knew you would. Raina, you always wanted to have a rocking chair, didn't you? I haven't set it up yet, but look, I got it for you. How? Dad, thank you. This is mine, right? Right? Hey, this is for everybody. I understand, but I'm not going to get off this chair once I sit on it. My father explained the details of his redecoration proudly. He told me that he only did the living room this time, but he's going to redecorate all of the rooms. He sure had become more active. There are some parts about the redecoration I didn't like, but I still thought it was great because it made him happy. I found the old furniture outside in the yard. Are you going to throw them away? Yeah, I think we should. A delivery company is coming later to pick them up. Getting rid of the old furniture means putting an end to my mother. I hated the furniture because it smelled like my mother, and I tried to break everything at once. I understand why my father wants to take this opportunity to get rid of them. But, for some reason, this new living room makes me feel like I no longer belonged here. My father didn't choose the new furniture. Rina-san probably did. Most likely, my father and Rina-san decided to redecorate the living room and went to a furniture store to buy everything. I tried to think positively. The reason why my father didn't tell me about the redecoration was because he wanted to surprise me. No, my father never really considers things that deeply. So I suppose he didn't tell me because he just didn't think he needed to tell me. I'm sure he didn't redecorate the living room to make me feel like I was no longer welcome. Don't be negative, Rena. My father didn't have any bad intentions. He doesn't want to get rid of me. He doesn't think I'm the reason he can't get remarried. And yet, why did I feel sad? Looking at the old furniture in the yard, why did I feel like I didn't belong? I realized the reason right away. That reason was me. To him, wanting to have a fresh start by getting rid of the things that reminded him of my mother might be an indication of his unconscious desire to get rid of her daughter. My father doesn't really consider things deeply, so he might not be thinking that I'm the reason he can't get remarried, but he understands that he can't get remarried while we live together. By staying with him, I'm torturing my father. It was my fault that he had to get a divorce. That's why I have to support him, to help recapture his happiness. 1, Rena, not your fault. 2, your dad loves you very much. I couldn't just keep him all to myself. I'd have to start thinking about living on my own. I don't need to go to university. I should think about getting a job. But who would hire an uneducated girl like me? Even if somebody did hire me, I wouldn't be able to earn enough money to live on my own. Maybe I should think about working as a hostess club, like Rina-san does. People only choose the jobs they can. A girl like me doesn't have a lot of choices. Not a lot of companies would hire me or pay the amount of money that I need to live on my own. But, come to think of it, where is the place where I belong? Whenever I end up feeling like this, I miss my secret hideout in the trash piles. I love to get under my blanket and feel the warmth on a cold night. The hideout gets hot and humid during the day, and very cold at night. It's not a comfortable place to spend time in, but it might be the place where I can relax the most, more than I can at my house. No, I shouldn't think like this. I shouldn't think that my house has been invaded by Rina-san. I should thank her for making my father happy. Rina-san isn't trying to kick me out of the house. She's trying to get along with me. But I'm not opening my heart to her. I'm the bad one. I'm the bad one. And I am blessed. I'm blessed. I'm blessed. Satoshi-kun and his aunt didn't get along at all, and she abused him for a long time. Compared to him, my situation was a lot easier. Satoku-chan and Rika-chan lost their parents, and they live together now. They've been through very hard times. On the other hand, I still live with my father. I should feel blessed. I shouldn't think I'm unhappy just because of these things. I am happy. I am blessed. The trouble with me is that I still can't admit that I'm happy. My father kept talking proudly about the redecoration. I nodded to him with a big smile and let him keep at it. Oh, I almost forgot. Rina, can I ask you a favor? Sure. What is it? I ordered 2 jackets from the clothing store. It seems like they came in today. I have to help with the delivery company to pick up the furniture. So can you go get the jackets for me? Sure. Which store is it? I wonder what kind of jackets you got. I can't wait to see them. No matter what they look like, I'm sure Rina-san picked them out for him. Although I don't mind going. I'd rather go to the store than listen to his stories with the redecoration of our living room. I got the receipt, asked him where the store is, changed my clothes, and left the house. I started pedaling my bicycle and looked at the old furniture in the yard for the last time. They used to be the object of my hatred, but for some reason, they now made me feel sentimental. My nose is stuffy. I'm back. That feels much better. Is it because I still regret the loss of my mother, even though I hate her? I couldn't let poisonous emotions take over my heart. I understood that in my mind, but I just couldn't get rid of that feeling. The old furniture wasn't the only stuff that was kicked out of the house. There was also a lot of junk that I brought home from the landfill. My father was probably going to throw that away too. He doesn't like the junk I collect. He'll probably let the delivery company take it all together with the old furniture. Just like an animal that rubs its scent on its home in order to feel secure. I collected all the junk in order to make sure that I could stay here. No, that's not it. I wanted to bring them a house because they were abandoned by their former owners, and they needed a place to live. The store where my father ordered the jackets from is a fancy boutique. It's hard to believe that my father would shop at a store like this on his own. I could tell right away that Rina-san took him here. I handed over his receipt to the cashier. A short time later, the store manager came out wearing a perplexed look. Ryugu-sama, I'm very sorry, but it seems like the truck carrying our jackets is stuck in traffic. It should be here soon, though. He said that the delivery driver called a while ago told him he just got off the highway. It would be here in about an hour. I didn't need to know all the details, but he explained them to me anyway. I asked him if I should come back tomorrow. He insisted that I should wait because the truck would be coming shortly, and he urged me to take a seat on their sofa. But I didn't really feel comfortable waiting there, so I told him I'd be back soon, and left the store. I wondered if there are any fast food restaurants nearby. I might have to go all the way back to the station. I looked around and found a coffee house. The glass in the door was black, so I couldn't see inside, but there was a poster saying the price of a cup of tea is lower than normal for women on weekdays. I'd just be going to get a cup of tea to kill some time. It should be okay. But still, I hesitated to go inside before opening the door. Her first impression of the coffee house was the smell of cigarettes. It's normal for a coffee house to be full of cigarette smoke. It's like a requirement. But Rena still regretted her decision. While she was thinking about leaving, the proprietor spoke to her brusquely and showed her to a table. Rena gave up on the idea of leaving and sat down. The atmosphere in the shop was far from clean. Normal coffee house where you would go to simply enjoy coffee and cigarettes. It was more like a place where vulgar people would hang around. Rena didn't feel comfortable at all. But what bothered her the most was the laughter of a man and a woman sitting together in the very back of the store. Her table was behind a planter, so depending on how one looked at it, one could say she was in a spot most protected from their laughter. But Rena looked as though she wanted to leave as soon as she finished her tea. The bell hanging from the entrance door rang, letting her know a customer just came in. It was a little surprising for her that a coffee shop like this could draw in so many customers. Rena peeked at the newcomers from behind the planter. There were two of them. They looked like vulgar men, the kind of people you didn't want to get involved with the instant you saw them. The proprietor tried to show them to a table, but they ignored him and walked towards the back. They walked up to the couple who had been laughing loudly and greeted them with a bow. "Hey! You finally made it. Sit down." The couple stopped laughing, and the man told the newcomers to sit down in a threatening tone of voice. As instructed, the two of them took a seat. "So, what happened?" "We're very sorry. We tried to—" "Cut it, dipshit. Just hand it over." The two of them looked at each other before they each took an envelope out of their pockets and put it on the table. The man roughly grabbed the two envelopes and tore one of them open. Inside there were many wrinkled 10,000 yen bills bound into a bundle with a rubber band. He opened the other one to make sure it also had cash in it, and then threw it to the woman. "Count 'em." "Hey, don't order me around. This is originally my money, you know." "Shut up. Just count 'em." The man yelled at the woman. She licked her thumb, looking annoyed, and started counting the cash expertly. The two newcomers hung their heads while she counted. Lighting a cigarette, the man waited for her to finish counting. "Good. It's all here." The woman said that after flicking through the last bill. The newcomers looked relieved. The man, however, didn't look satisfied as he stared at the bundle of bills the woman was holding. "Ritsuko? How much is there?" "What? I told you it's all there." "I'm asking you how much is that?" "I told you all the money I lent them." "No, idiot. I'm asking you if they paid you the interest." The man and Ritsuko yelled at each other. Even though they were making all the noise, the other customers acted like they didn't hear anything. "Hey boys, there's only 2 mil here." "What's going on?" The two of them were trying to find some excuses to make. It seems like the behavior had touched the man's nerves, as he started looking furious. "The fuck is this? I asked you what's going on. You'd better start talking." His angry voice echoed through the shop. He hit the table hard and dropped a glass on the floor. The noise thickened the tension in the atmosphere. We're very sorry." "Being sorry doesn't give her the interest, does it? I don't mind calling the police to solve our problem, you know." "Please don't." The two newcomers must have been in an extremely vulnerable position. They bowed so deeply that their foreheads almost touched the table. "I called y'all here because I thought you wouldn't want me to involve the police. But then you act like you don't fucking care, We're sorry, we're very sorry. While you could pity them, the newcomers looked as vulgar as the man threatening them, making it hard to decide whether you should feel sorry for them or not. After a while, Ritsuko opened her mouth as if to offer them help. Anyone feel this person looks familiar? At all? Even just a little? Just a little bit? Te-chan? Te-chan? Don't be so mean to them. Yes, it's Teppei. Te-chan is Teppei. You know, Satoko's uncle. My guy gets mad easily when the money's involved. Hey, we have a picture for Teppei. So now you can see the picture of the person who was beating the fucking shit out of Satoko. I was already saying in Chapter 3 that he doesn't deserve to live. His current behavior is not helping his case. You don't have to add the money part. I'm getting ticked because they're bitching at you. Geez, saying those stupid things won't get you anything. The man pulled Ritsuko roughly into his arms and frantically kissed her lips without caring about the other customers. Their kiss wasn't like the lovely ones that normal couples would share. It looked obscene instead. He let her lips go to take a breath and kissed them again and repeated that for a while. After a while, he finally got bored of kissing and let her go. He gets really mad when it comes to me, too. He's impossible. So what? This woman's like a part of my body. Putting dirt on her means putting dirt on me. Whoever tries to do that is in for a bloodbath. Do you remember the guy with the comb-over? I forgot what you did to that guy after you took him outside. Dwah! I remember him. He challenged me wanting to take it outside. He said that he did karate, so I got a little excited to see what he had, and I punched him in the stomach. But then he just kneeled down on the ground. You know, it does feel a little satisfying the multiple times that Kiichi has killed you, and other people have killed you. Heck, at one point Shion was going to kill you, then Kiichi stopped her. There's also a version of the timeline. There's actually multiple versions of the timeline where Kiichi kills you. Because sometimes the anime took the show in new directions. There's also a point where Satoko pulled out a gun and blew your brains out. I was disappointed, so I took off his pants and underwear and made him clean the public toilets with them. See, I'm helping society. I deserve a reward for that one. I can't believe you made him do that. You're so gross sometimes. Kiha. They started laughing loudly like they were doing earlier. Their laughter obviously intimidated their companions. Listen, you two. Anyone got the feeling that we've seen this person before? Ritsuko. I wonder if she goes by any other names. Te-chan is actually... Teppei Hojo is actually in a very good mood today. Usually you'd start yelling, this isn't enough money, and you'd be thrown into the Oiji River naked by now. But we're truly apologizing for the inconvenience. Well, you forgot about the interest, but you did put together all the rest of the money in time. I'm impressed. So I'll be nice and take that into consideration, you know? Anyway. His interest rate is a little high, but it's only 5 if you pay today. If you wait even a day longer, it'll be doubled. And if it's doubled, I don't think you'll be able to pay it off no matter what you do. So I'm going to make you a deal. Te-chan, would you give us a minute? Tish. Sure, I guess it's okay. The man left the table with a grin, headed for the bathroom. He was far too amenable to the request, as if they had planned for him to leave the table at that moment. Ritsuko made sure he was in the bathroom, then took some papers out of her bag and spread them out on the table. You're young. You don't want to ruin your life because of an outlaw like him, do you? So, I recommend you pay all the interest today. If you do, you can cut your ties with him. We understand that, but we can't get 500,000 yen just like that. I understand. I bet you tried really hard to collect that 2 million yen. I understand there's no one who'd help you out with another 500,000. They must have done their very best to collect even the amount of money they brought today, so it must be impossible for them to collect even a dime from anybody now. They hung their heads and told her that. However, Take a look, I made this for you. The guys looked at the paper on the table and muttered under their breaths. You don't need collateral or joint guarantor for this, so this interest rate is a bit high. But with this, you can take out a loan of 500,000 yen right away. Even this interest rate is a lot better than Techan's. What do you think? It would be easy for anyone to guess what Ritsuko is trying to force them to do. If you show him this with your signature on it, I'm sure he'll let you off. It's your choice, though. If you need a pen, you can use mine here. They read the small print of the documents and were stunned by the outrageous interest rate. Ritsuko didn't force them to do anything. She just looked out the window and smoked her cigarette. After a while, the man returned from the bathroom. Hey, did you come to an agreement? They looked at him, steeled themselves, and took the pen. They're going to borrow the money to pay your interest. It's only 500,000 yen, so they can pay their debts soon if they work really hard. That's great. I'm impressed. Men get tougher when they have something burning in them. They must have planned this from the very start. The man and Ritsuko got what they wanted and grinned at each other. Does anyone else feel that loan sharks are not exactly very good people? I feel like, interest and loans are very predatory. There were many things to fill out on the documents, and it was taking them a long time. The man and Ritsuko, already knowing that, started talking amongst themselves. Ritsuko, how's your husband in Hinamizawa doing? What? He's not my husband. What's going on with him? Heard he's a lot of money. How much do you think you can squeeze out of him? Well, you'll be surprised. I heard his ex-wife gave him a settlement when they got divorced, right? But I just found out that she gave him a lot. How much is a lot? He has about 50 million yen in the bank. He's a big spender. Wow, that's a real big deal. So, how much do you think you can squeeze out of him? He has a big crush on me. And keep in mind, this is back in 1983. And in Japan. So, I would say 50 million yen. My guess will be the equivalent, especially with inflation, maybe be like $250,000 American dollars, but I have no idea. I'm just taking my general guess and assumption. He buys me anything I want, anything. He's not cheap like you. I might get serious about him. I don't think so. Your body won't be satisfied with anyone but me. Stop it, not here. So what's the plan? I'm thinking about telling him I need some money to get rid of my ex-boyfriend. How much are you going to ask him for? She whispers into his ear. Gwahaha, you're a scary woman. Let me know if you need an actor for your play. I'll be your scary ex-boyfriend. Excuse me? We finished. Great. Then let's bring it over to the loan company. Ritsuko, or should I say Rina-san, take care of the check, would you? The man put them on their shoulders, and then pat them on their shoulders, and then walked them to the door. Another person was just about to enter, and they nearly ran into each other. The man probably wouldn't make it way for the person considering his personality, but when he noticed who that person was, he stepped aside. The person looked as vulgar as all the other men. He was wearing a black suit with sunglasses on. He wasn't that big, but his stern look was very intimidating. It was clear at a glance that he was a gangster, and a professional one at that. Oh, is he a member of the Sonozakis? The man, who was behaving badly earlier, looked a little nervous in front of him. Oh, right, Teppei does work for the Sonozakis. And even though he's technically a loan shark, he's also works for them in a few things, involving at one point where he kind of ripped off the Sonozakis. Which means in every timeline, the fucking Yakuza that he stole from should have killed him before him and his aunt could have done shit to Satoshi or Satoko. Does anyone else remember Chapter 3 where he was abusing and very much mistreating in very horrible ways that I won't go into detail to Satoko? And again, I'm not advising anyone to do violent things to people. I'm like Lunar D8 Studios, I'm not trying to encourage anyone to do anything violent. I'm just saying, I feel given the situation that Teppei was, or Techan was, in regard to how he was treating Satoshi and Satoko early on, and let alone when he came back, how extremely abusive he was to Satoko, I would feel very tempted to murder him. Though, I've never killed anyone in my entire life, and I certainly hope that never changes. I would not want to ever hurt anyone. Heck, I've only ever hurt anybody at all in self-defense or defense of another. And heck, even in self-defense, I have never struck a woman. But yeah, I'm just saying, if there was a guy abusing a child, I'd be very, very strongly tempted, to fill the roles of Keiichi. Because remember, Keiichi beat the fucking shit out of him with a baseball bat. Technically, he does it a few more times in other variations of the anime. Heck, at one point, Shion was going to do it. And, Keiichi didn't stop her because he cared about, Teppei, or Tecchan. He stopped her because he had a flashback of an alternate timeline where he murdered Teppei himself and remembered how that worked out. And mainly that Satoko was not happy. It didn't make things better. Then at the end of the day is this. His goal, his true desire wasn't to kill Teppei. It was just that he wanted to protect Satoko. He wanted to protect his friend. And later on in this game, in Chapter 6, keep in mind this is the game where eventually, Rena is going to have her Hinamizawa syndrome circumstance occur. But Keiichi's able to tell what's going on with her because he has a flashback of when he peanut butter jelly time, when he took a baseball bat and beat the fucking shit out of Mion and Rena until they were dead. And here's the thing. Technically, there's multiple interpretations of this timeline. We're talking fucking quantum mechanics here, guys. Because technically, there's versions of the story in which Mion and Rena were indeed trying to kill him and inject him with drugs. But in that variation, they pulled out a pen and were going to write it on his shirt. But he hallucinated it to be a syringe. Plus, there was other shit going on. There's also versions of the story where, Mion's working working for the Yakuza, killing people, or fighting the Yakuza, overthrowing the Yakuza. One where Shion impersonates Mion and starts doing that. There's a version where Shion locks Mion in a fucking cage and then tases her down a well so she breaks her neck. But there's also a version where Mion strangles Shion to death and then locks Keiichi in the same cage, but she does it because she's trying to protect Keiichi. Because she's paranoid that if she doesn't lock him in a cage, that, the other people will get to him. And even when she realizes there's a good chance she's going to get killed, she tells, hey, you're locked in here, you're completely innocent of everything that happened. So, if I die, whoever is breaking in will let you out. But the main thing, he stopped Shion because he realized, one, it would do more harm to Shion, and two, that Satoko wouldn't be happy about it. That Shion would get ruined as a person. Heck, I feel like Hinamizawa syndrome is kind of like, think of Breaking Bad. That character Walter White? The main point is this. Killing people is perhaps a very negative changing circumstance to people. And granted, in this situation of the game, they have Hinamizawa syndrome, which is, brain worms that are eating at your brain and causing issues. I've already gotten a full explanation on that. But it does make you think about, say, Walter White in Breaking Bad. If you compare the way his character is at the very start of the series as opposed to the very end of the series, by that point he's killed 200 people. And he's become a very, very different kind of person. And one could say that when it comes right down to it, that at the end of the series, Walter White has become a very not good person, and that his personality is very, very different. Now, in the same regard, human beings are capable of great things, both good and bad, and all of those things exist within everyone. After all, you see parts at the very start, even episode 1, where he yells at those one kids and all that one stuff, and So the main point is this. Heisenberg was always in there. So... And, like, I'm probably not doing things as intended by the author of this game, but this author has said many times in their little interviews with the author at the end of some of the games that the author wants people to, analyze and think deeply about the game and the story. And my main thing to say to that is, dear Ryukishi, however you pronounce your name, 07, the 07 expansion man, I want you to make more, whether it's an entirely new game or a new higurashi, even though we still have the rest of this and 4 other higurashi games to go through. And yes, I understand there's more content-rich versions that were made like PlayStation games. And I could get mods for all these games I've been playing. But I decided against that. I will say this. I'm essentially a person who's lived his entire life as a pacifist. Now, granted, don't get me wrong, I'll be violent in self-defense, but I go out of my way to be very non-provocative to people. In fact, my entire life people have criticized me as being too much of a mellow temperament and not aggressive enough. But at the end of the day is this. I don't like arguments or fighting. I'll do those things if I absolutely have to. And I mean, it's not like I don't get angry, I do. It's just, even though I enjoy violent video games and, violent movies and watch violent anime, I don't like being violent in real life. And even in situations where, I have every reason to be very hateful to other people, I tend to stay very reserved on it. Granted, I have told people off, I have been violent in situations, but those are usually in situations where there was literally no other option. And where I'd imagine most other people would have, been more violent much earlier on. But in those situations, again, we're all self-defense, where, people were actively trying to hurt me very badly. So it's more of an issue of, I don't want to die or be hurt seriously. So, going to defend myself, there's nothing wrong with me defending myself. But in general, I feel it's better to not go a violent path, but I understand there are some times where it's necessary. After all, I strongly recommend the movie, the 1997 or 1995, The Odyssey, is a 3-hour-long movie of the main actor who plays Odysseus, Armand Assante, does a very good job. And there's a point in it where he mentions, a lesson from, the 3,000-year-old epic poem from Greece. And that is, to be angry is easy. But the hard thing to do is to be angry at the right time, for the right reason, and against the right person. The main point is this. In of itself, violence and hatred and anger are not bad. In fact, they're good. But you have to understand when it's appropriate to use those things. There's a time and a place. The main point is this. It's not that there's anything wrong with using violence. Violence has its time and place. You can't simply rule it off the table and say that you can't be violent ever. There have to be circumstances in which you are willing to take even the most extreme violent measures. Though, and again, these things are not things to be taken lightly, and should be avoided if possible. But you have to at least consider the possibility of those circumstances occurring, and be willing to take any actions necessary. And there are some times where anger is appropriate and fine, and where violence, and again, I would strongly recommend, before you pass any judgment on what I've said, to simply watch the movie. In the end, I'm essentially giving a message of non-violence, but I am stating that in of itself, there is nothing wrong with having negative feelings, like anger or sadness or fear, or even anxiety. all of these emotions have a use. And in fact, if you were to delete the ability to even feel these emotions from your brain, I would feel to a large degree that you wouldn't be human anymore. That you would lose something that gives your mind value. You have to have the capacity for those thoughts and feelings. Otherwise, you really just don't have free will anymore, as well as you don't have the ability to really understand or express things. Now it's your choice how you interact in the world and how you treat people. And I would certainly say that I err on the side of being very polite to people. I err on the side of trying to be courteous and trying to be very go with the flow sort of thing. I'll try to avoid any sort of violence, and of course I understand that there have been many circumstances, in fact, where people have plotted against me, and it was very much in my benefit to not be violent, because, heck, the same thing happened in the Odyssey, where at one point they tried to goad Telemachus, the son of Odysseus, into being violent. Of course, at that time, Odysseus, hidden as an old beggar due to the magic of Athena, or is it called magic if it's from a god? I don't know. I don't know how that applies. Is it called a blessing at that point? A gift? Divine power? I don't know what the appropriate terminology is. One, Athena isn't real, but imagine even if she was, I don't think she'd care. I'm pretty sure the Greek gods would not care. I do find the mythology very fascinating. But anyway, they were trying to goad him into doing something very unwise, which would then give them an excuse to murder him in cold blood. So, something to keep in mind. But, main point is this. You have to be mindful of everything around you. Yes, it's actually good to have anger. And there are some situations where anger and violence are the appropriate response. But you shouldn't let your emotions dictate or control your judgment. You shouldn't let your rage blind you. It doesn't mean you should fully suppress it either. There are some times where your rage is good, and there are some times where it's appropriate. However, the challenge is understanding that. And of course, different people have different value systems and what they deem appropriate on that. Again, to anyone listening to this, I would simply suggest watch the movie. I'm telling you about it. It's 3 hours long, but it's a great movie. One of the best movies ever made. And I think Armand Assante does a very good job, though I'm not sure if that actor is still alive. Even if he is, I'm sure he's retired. Because after all, that was nearly 30 years ago when that movie came out. But it is a very good movie. Heck, I am a very mellow and kind and non-aggressive person. And I'm the kind of person who, I'm walking on a bike trail and I see a bunny. I start talking to the bunny. I talk to the rabbit about, video game stuff. Remember, that just sounds lonely and sad. Whatever. Main point is this. I'm the kind of person who is kind of like Rena a bit in personality. I would say, in fact, out of all of the characters in Higurashi, I would say the one whose personality is closest to mine would be Rena. But back what I was saying about the politeness thing, I would say this. I feel like we have an epidemic of rude people in this world. And I just don't like when people are rude. And particularly, I don't like when I am rude. It's not an issue of caring if other people are offended. It's the fact that I feel it's icky. It makes me feel icky. I don't like it. But of course, we all have our own little pet peeves and feelings about things. Heck, even though I'm a very non-violent, very kind individual, I enjoy video games like Grand Theft Auto. But even though I enjoy playing Grand Theft Auto and doing crazy shit like driving on the sidewalk, having shootouts with the fucking police in the game, I would never do that shit in real life. I'm not gonna fucking Mortal Kombat rip someone's fucking spine out in real life. But they are fun video games. And in fact, I enjoy very morbid stories, whether it be Edgar Allan Poe, Shakespeare, the Canterbury Tales, or even lots of anime. Heck, there's a manga called The Strongest Brave Who Craves for Revenge. It's like redo of Healer, but much, much more violent. I don't know if they'll ever be able to make that into an anime. But if they do, I think it'd be cool. Heck, there's also many animes, like Slayers, from the 90s that was based off light novels, as if most have been. Heck, there's lots of older animes that are related to the internet that I think a lot of people would be benefited from and greatly enjoy their experience by watching, including Cyberpunk Tokyo 2040, Bubblegum Crisis Tokyo 2040, Bubblegum Crisis Tokyo 20. Wow, I'm struggling to remember things. Though technically, that's a remake of a remake, but it's technically a different version of the story every time. It's kind of like there's different animes out there that go like that. Like the Gundam series. You have so many different Gundam series that have largely almost different universes or reimaginings that are all really good, except for SD Gundam. That one sucked. Also, there's Tenchi Muyo, Tenchi Universe, Tenchi OVAs, Tenchi Ryoki, Tenchi in Tokyo, Tenchi GXP, AI Tenchi, and there's other, it's great animes. The Tenchi Muyo series is really great, as is the Gundam series. Maybe Gundam Wing might be the best, though many other people would like Mobile Suit Gundam, especially the older retro Gundams, where it started, or even G Gundam, which was kind of a martial arts sort of DBZ sort of thing. Heck, in the same regard as the mobile suits for that, there's also the video game franchise Zone of the Enders. I would strongly suggest the video game, originally for the PlayStation 2, Zone of Enders, the second runner. Very amazing game, great soundtrack. That most games I suggest have really great soundtracks. But yeah, some really good older animes would be like Bubblegum Crisis Tokyo 2040, though technically there's older versions of that, like Bubblegum Crash and Bubblegum Crisis, and there's Bubblegum Crisis Tokyo 2040, which was the most newest version of that, but it's also early 90s. I think that one's the best, and the most one I'm more familiar with. It's a very great anime. There's a bunch of robots. It's kind of like Elon Musk, Wet Dream. And the robots are called boomers. So whether you're calling that from a generational name or from a Fallout thing, though there's supposed to be a remaster of Fallout 3 coming out, which that'll be pretty cool. Beyond that, alright, animes. Ghost in the Shell and Serial Lane Experiments. Also Trigun, Vasha Stampede, Rurouni Kenshin, Cowboy Bebop, Outlaw Star. Outlaw Star is a good one. Gene Star one. Only 26 episodes, but it is one of the best animes you'll ever see. Outlaw Star. Great anime. Cannot suggest it highly enough. Other than that, I will say this. I've enjoyed lots of horror movies, like The Cube, Hellraiser, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, and of course, different video games. Like, many that are very popular, but also some that are very obscure. Like Demonophobia, which I would say is not appropriate to anyone unless you're 23 years old or older. It is very graphic, very violent. I actually suggested someone let's play it back in 2009 or something. He went by the name of DDR Maniac 007. I think you can find some of the re-uploads of it on the internet. He did originally upload it completely uncensored, but YouTube deleted his channel back then. It is very graphic and quite horrible, and I've talked about it quite a bit. I think in my video called Gravity Part 69, I talked about it quite frequently, quite liberally, because I was playing a bit of this one game on Steam that the aesthetics of that game very greatly reminded me of that game. And the main thing I use about that, I feel like these games, I feel these movies like Hellraiser and Cube, I feel they're good thought experiments. I feel they're good psychological case studies of the concept of hell. Because so many people in churches will say, oh, this person will go to hell and this person that, but you don't really think, what about the justification of hell, or what it says about any being that would create or sanction the existence of hell or send somebody to it? Heck, even if you're telling someone to burn for eternity, do you have any idea how cruel that is? Let alone, you look at like any of the stuff going on in that, and it seems like nothing more than a fetish of some demon. And at the end of the day, hell's not a place to hold demons, it's a place that would create them. If you put a human, no matter how benevolent they are, into that sort of situation, it's going to not only cause unimaginable suffering, but it's going to change them as a person. I guess that's one thing I was also saying here, like with Breaking Bad, Walter White changed from his experiences into a much less noble version of himself. In the same regard, Hinamizawa syndrome. Not only can people evaluate purely based of the psychological condition from the Hinamizawa syndrome, which, they are being physically affected by, worms in their brain, but also is the fact that when they take certain actions, even if they're able to make peace with it afterward, it has a drastic change on the individual. And it's usually these situations where the person decides to actually kill somebody. Now, granted, it's preceded by deep psychological stress of other things going on, and they're not exactly doing the best place mentally at that time. But usually, like when Keiji made the choice to actually kill Teppei, it had a major change on him as a person, and not for the better. Also, I would say this, like, say the deaths that happen like Final Destination, some of them get very cruel. The way I look, and I'm like, I feel like a lot of things, like, while I didn't watch the newest, Final Destination, but I did see clips of it on YouTube, which the deaths were very, very graphic. And, like, many of the ways that people died in that, I don't think anyone in the world deserves to die in that way. Like, a lot of those deaths are very much, like, even if it's usually over in like a less than a minute, it just, I couldn't imagine, like, even if they're going to hell was a person died that way and then that was it and they just blinked out of existence. Also, on a more psychological note, the Cube series, though technically there's like 4 of those movies, but one of them is where a person is about to escape and they're asked a question. And the question is, do you believe in God? Now, if you say yes, well, and this is after you've survived all the traps and you've probably suffered quite a bit of pain. If you say yes, well, you'll be let go. But if you say no, you'll be hit by flamethrowers. So, but I do think, and of course, like with movies or anime, again, the main point is no one's actually getting hurt. It's just prosthetics, props, drawings. It's essentially people just making a story. But I think these stories, I think they're a good case to point out to someone who thinks hell is justifiable. And basically you say, okay, what about this movie, like the stuff that happens at Friday 13th, or Nightmare on Elm Street, or Hellraiser? Are you really okay with people going through that sort of stuff? I mean, it seems very much overly cruel. I don't know. Remember that thing where I said I go off topic sometimes and go on tangents? But yeah. Granted, I've talked many times on saying I have personality. Heck, let me go grab the book. Ow, my back. Now you guys can hear me bitching about my back. Ow. Yes, I know I need to go to bed. But yeah, out of all the characters in this game, I would say the one whose personality, outlook on life, or general way of coping and interacting with the world is closest to Rena. I would say out of all the people in this game, Grantley, yes, I can definitely see some parallels between myself and Satoshi in terms of his personality. If anything, since I'm about to list off a bunch of Dragon Ball Z fusions, I would say, if anything, maybe I'm a Dragon Ball Z fusion of Rena Ryugu and Satoshi Hojo. But in general, if I had to pick just one, it'd be a difficult choice, because I can definitely see my own personality in Satoshi. But I can also see my own personality in Rena. And I can see Rena's personality in me, and I can see Satoshi's personality in me. But yeah, I have a list of 11 Dragon Ball Z fusions. Number 1 is Yusuke Urameshi and Sailor Moon. Yusuke Urameshi is from the anime Yu Yu Hakusho, and Sailor Moon is from Sailor Moon. Fusion number 2 is Astolfo and Jack Hanma. Astolfo is from the Fate series. Jack Hanma is from Baki the Grappler. Also, I would say in both personality and physical appearance that if you made a Dragon Ball Z fusion of Astolfo and Jack Hanma, they would look and have the same personality as Ramuda Amamura, which is from a really amazing anime. Fusion 3 is Chrono Gorgon and Vash Stampede. Chrono Gorgon from the Soul Eater anime and Vash Stampede from Trigun. Fusion 4 is Stein and Nagisa. Stein is from also Soul Eater, and Nagisa is from Assassination Classroom. Fusion 5 is Chip the Cable Guy and Ernest. Chip the Cable Guy is played by Jim Carrey in the movie The Cable Guy, and Ernest is played in a series of movies called Ernest by an actor called Jim Varney. Fusion number 6 is Vegeta and the 2003 Guilty Gear XX Testament. So Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z and the Testament character from the Guilty Gear fighting series, but from the version of it that's I think the technical second game that came out in 2003. So the design and personality of that. I remember there being a few quotes about him that I used in regard to myself. If I can remember it offhand, I think it said, "His curiosity knows no bounds, but his hatred for violence borders on being pathological." Which I'd say that's definitely something I mirror. Fusion number 7 is Goku and Tsukasa. Goku from Dragon Ball Z and Tsukasa from the anime .X Sign. Fusion 8 is Shinji and Zelos. Shinji Ikari is from Evangelion, and Zelos Metallium is from the Slayers series, who the most remarkable well-known character out of that series is Lena Inverse. Oh right, I was mentioning how there's many animes made from light novels. Technically, Volume 17 of Overlord should be coming out here in like a week or something. Though Volume 18, which will come out in a few years from now, should be the ending of the show. So, and I will say this, I very much do like the animes Overlord and Reincarnated as a Slime, Ainz Ul God Momonga and Rimuru Tempest. Though technically, I think Ainz is Momonga's real name. It's like Suzuki Satoshi or something like that. Or Suzuku, or I can't remember off the top of my head. But I know one of his names, like his last name, one of their last names is the other person's first name. And by that I mean the human that Rimuru Tempest was before he got stabbed and he got isekai'd. one of his names is like the same as the human who is Ainzul Gon. But like one of their first names is the other person's last name. I just don't remember whose. But both Reincarnated as a Slime and Overlord, both of their animes are based off of light novels that are still ongoing light novels that also have not only animes getting made of them, but also manga versions being made of them as well, and even side stories and not even fan fictions, but actual official side additional stories written by the actual author. Like there's versions of the Reincarnated Slime from other characters. Like there's a character called Trinity, so you're getting to see it from her perspective. And of course, even the actual straight up official author of the light novels that are the anime has made other light novels that are sort of elsewheres. Like he made a light novel that's called The Vampire Lost Princess, which is a version of, it's an alternate start for the Overlord anime, where instead of him and Nazarick and all the Guardians showing up, it's just Ainzul Gon by himself. And it's the same world they get transported to, but it's 300 years earlier in the timeline. He actually meets Evil Eye, and they become like best friends. And in that situation, he's much more human in behavior. He's still the same skeletal lich. It's just that the main thing the author is really trying to get at with this is that while he does love and care very deeply about the Floor Guardians, the Floor Guardians are very negative beings. The point of the story being that the Floor Guardians, like Albedo and the others, are very bad influences on Ainz and make him more ruthless. And in addition to that, is there some characters we have yet to even see, especially in the anime. For example, Albedo is one of 3 sisters. We've seen lots of Albedo, which I definitely don't mind. She is very, very, very sexy. Very beautiful. I like her boobs. I like her face. I like her overall design. Heck, to some degree I would say her and Astolfo have the same personality, just different alignment. For example, I would say that Albedo and Astolfo have the same personality, but Astolfo is a chaotic good, and Albedo is lawful evil. Aside from that, they have the same exact personality. I wager, from my point of view, Astolfo from the Fate series, Astolfo and Albedo have the exact same personality. They just have different views in terms of morality. And by that I mean, Astolfo is good and chaotic. Astolfo's not super big on, following everything, to the letter of how it's supposed to be done. More of a free spirit, more of a freedom-loving individual. Whereas Albedo is a much more rigid, structure, obedience, authority type person. And Albedo is definitely on the, evil spectrum, and Astolfo's on the good spectrum. And of course, but they both are very loyal to the person they view as, their master or their cause. So I would say in general, Astolfo and Albedo have the same personality. It's just they have a different alignment. Heck, I remember there being a 3D version of the alignments to where, the x-axis is, evil and good, and the y-axis is, lawful or chaotic. But then you could have a z-axis, which is like bacon and necktie. Yes, I'm making a TV tropes reference. It's kind of like the also idea of you have different types of moralities that can exist. And by that you mean, well, obviously there's black and white morality. Some people would everything's a very strict absolutism. But then the fact is this. A lot of times, morality is a shade of grays. So simply put, a lot of people would view that there's things they consider good and things they considered evil. So black and white. And of course, many people can either be absolutists on that, to where it's a defined line where something is one thing or the other, or you can see things as gray, where there's a lot of things that are a mix of good and evil, and it becomes a very difficult conundrum to decide what you think about what is happening and what's the right course of action and what your motivations are. But then there's the idea called orange and blue morality, and that's the idea that if you were to encounter a different society or even aliens, to where what if their general concept of morality doesn't even line up anything close to ours, to where a lot of there's not really a proper analogy. But again, I would suggest that if you want to understand that better, you should look up the website TV Tropes, where it lists off basically every type of storytelling device, which that's what a trope is. A trope is a storytelling device used in a story, whether it's a type of character or a type of plot device or plot twist or character type or personality, like literally anything you can think about. And it also, you could pick anything like orange and blue morality, and it would then give you a list of every time that they have listed in the media that exists. They are very thorough with it. So not only do you get a proper full explanation of what orange and blue morality is, you would then get a list of animes, movies, books, TV shows, comics, and anything else, and especially video games, where there are examples of it. And the same is true of anything you would pick. But yeah, anything that could happen in a story, there's a name for it. It's like Rule 34, but we're trying to be more wholesome here. Then again, you could also type in a certain story and get an example of all the tropes used in it. For example, Berserk, the story of Guts and Griffith. So you could put that in there, and you could have a list of every trope, a storytelling device that's used in all of Berserk. And yeah, you get every example of what's used in the show. And if you see any of those that are interesting, you can click on them, you get a proper full explanation of them, and every other show it was ever used in. Heck, speaking of which, the Behalites. Here's the thing. I feel like there is a very strong parallel between Griffith of Berserk, as well as Sephiroth of Final Fantasy VII, and of Anakin Skywalker in Star Wars. Heck, I would say all three were raised to be soldiers and used to be quite a bit in war. Heck, Sephiroth was groomed to basically be a mass murderer. And Anakin, how much fucking action did he see in the Clone Wars? Even if you're like, oh, most of the people he was killing were like fucking robots. How self-aware are these robots? And even then, it's this. You have these people that were basically trained and conditioned to react quickly on the spot to stimulation, to where hesitation would equal death. And you basically put people in these I imagine, again, it hits different people different, but I imagine this would be very much like shell shock, no matter what, even for a trained Jedi or for the descendant of Genova who has superpowers. But then the day is this. Largely Anakin, and especially Sephiroth, wasn't actually valued as a person. The people that, trained them up to be weapons only saw them as a utility, only as a tool. People didn't fucking care about Sephiroth. He was just a weapon to be used to get pointed at their enemies. His well-being, his thoughts, feelings didn't fucking matter. Same with Anakin. And keep in mind, I feel Anakin and all these stories function much like Greek myths. Heck, even Odysseus, the overarching, there's many lessons that are found in a mythology like this. But the main reason why Odysseus got lost at sea is because even though he was the one who came up with the idea of the horse, for Troy and everything, and he helped quite a bit, and he was largely responsible, is the fact that he was a bit arrogant about it. Because at the end of the day, there was a prophet that was coming out and was exposing him. And Poseidon, deciding that he was siding with Odysseus' side, set a sea serpent up and had him, eaten on the spot, saving Odysseus' plan. Poseidon's beef with Odysseus was that Poseidon didn't get the recognition he felt he deserved. That he felt like Odysseus was like claiming all the glory for himself and wasn't being grateful. He felt that he was being arrogant. He had too much pride, too much hubris, and that he didn't have enough humility. Poseidon's beef with Odysseus that basically caused everyone in his ship to eventually get murdered horribly, and Odysseus to lose out like close to 15 some odd years of his life before he managed to get back to his home. Poseidon actually still favored Odysseus. He still loved Odysseus. He didn't want Odysseus to die. He was trying to teach Odysseus a lesson. And the lesson was that, hey, you're only human. You're not a god. I want you to be more humble, and I want you to give me fucking credit. Again, I might say that might be a little harsh, everything he had to go through, plus the fact that, a lot of his men, all died. They all died, but a lot of them died very badly, in very unpleasant ways. I don't really feel they deserve that. I feel it was a bit harsh. But yeah, that's the whole point of that. Heck, a lot of stories have like Edgar Allan Poe's stories, or the Canterbury Tales, or every Shakespeare play. And honestly, I feel it's true of every anime, every manga. And granted, some manga are, maybe it's not supposed to have a point. It's supposed to be something you enjoy. And again, that can also be said about Shakespeare. Maybe you don't need to really worry about the point of the story. Maybe you should just enjoy the story. But sometimes it's enjoyable to look for that deeper meaning, especially since many of them have a deeper meaning put into them. Same thing with Higurashi. There's a deeper meaning in the story. But there's nothing wrong with simply just enjoying the story as is and just enjoying it as an experience. But at the same time, you can choose to look deeper into it and try to analyze and compare it to things. Heck, maybe at some point we can look up TV tropes together about Higurashi. I'm sure it's a fucking treasure trove. Going treasure hunting, guys. Oh, it's so cute. I gotta take it home. It's so cute, I have to take it home with me. I have so much anime shit in my house. Apartment, whatever. I have manga, I have some figurines, I have quite a few light novels and animes. I enjoy them. Heck, I have a dozen Warhammer books. I don't play Warhammer the game, but I like reading the books. Heck, I remember times I would just sit and read the 3.5 editions of Dungeons & Dragons. Just greatly enjoyed it. And granted, the author of this game encourages and outright tells people he wants people to, have conversations like this about the game. I just don't think, you expected someone like me to have these kind of weird tangents. But that being said, as far as those two ways of enjoying a show, whether it be just passively enjoying it or trying to analyze it, either one's fine. You should enjoy a game however you want to enjoy it. And who says you have to pick? It's like Fallout. You don't have to pick just one class. You can play every class. Everyone, what do you mean class? Well, have a character like 10 luck. And then one of another stat, role play a bit with it. And sometimes you can play Fallout, not care about the lore at all, or just I just want to fucking shoot shit. And other times you read everything and actually get into the story quite a bit and try to understand what's going on with it. And then you start assuming that here's the thing. In Fallout 4, here's a question. Were you actually still human during that time? After all, you're using VATS and stuff and all that stuff, right? So what if the real human that you were playing as actually died back when Sean was taken and you were replaced with a synth? So what if during the entire game you were always a synth and you just didn't know it? But it's just cool. And of course, there's sometimes there's mods or other versions of a game. Sometimes it's alternate timelines. It's cool. It's fun. Higurashi's got a very complicated story because you have so many different timelines and variations, and a lot of times they overlap. And of course, what we're reading here is basically the base version of a story. But there's so much more out there. There's mangas that have such beautifully drawn pictures. And then, of course, there's the anime. And the music, the soundtracks for the game and the soundtracks for the anime are awesome. I really, really like having good music. I like having good music in my video games. I like having good music in my anime. I'm the kind of person who has like the 10th anniversary CD of Evangelion. I got that back in like probably the early 2000s. I don't know. I don't remember when Evangelion came out. But I do know during their 10th anniversary, or at least shortly after, I ordered online and got the 10th anniversary box of the Evangelion series. It had 3 CDs, or DVDs, really. It had I think it had either 2 or 3 DVDs, or maybe 4, I'm not sure. I don't think I have the original box anymore. It's depressing. Heck, I used to have a blue book about a bunch of dinosaur facts. It was so awesome. Especially since my mom got it for me. So I'm kind of sentimental about that. Just because I enjoyed reading that book. And sometimes I read it with my mom. And it's kind of like I have very pleasant memories. Like my mom would cook a lot of food homemade. And I'd sit in the kitchen. And not only did I appreciate the hard work she put into cooking and that the food was good, but also I would just sit there and talk with her. And I just enjoyed spending time with my mom. I still try to go visit my mom from time to time because I love my mom very, 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 very much. That being said, there's also a lot of times I played certain video games. Like on the NES, maybe a bit of Robo Warrior, Dragon Spirit, But primarily, I would say with my mom, I played the original Mario Brothers and Mario 3. Now, on the PS1, there's some other games like, say, Croc, Legend of the Gobos, Crash Bandicoot, a few other things. But primarily, the original Spyro the Dragon. And, yeah, neither of us was very good at it. But I just enjoyed playing the game as something to do with my mom. I just enjoyed spending time with my mother. I still do, but we don't really game anymore. Maybe one day in the future that'll change. Heck, maybe at some point I might be able to get her a bit into some RPGs or something, but I'm not sure if that's doable. But I think it would be good for her. I think it would actually be... One, I think it would be good for her to be able to play certain games like the Final Fantasies. Because, they have such great music and great stories and great art, and they're just a fun experience. And I remember enjoying those games so very much in the past. And I'd like to be able to share that with my mom. I would like her to feel that same joy and happiness that I felt. One, because I love her very, very much, and two, because I want her to... I remember how happy those things made me feel, and I want her to feel that happiness too. But I was talking about Sephiroth and stuff. Here's the thing. Imagine if, Sephiroth, instead of, fucking snapping and becoming a psychotic murderer and killing Cloud's family and burning his hometown to the ground and then going on a massive killing spree with the plan to conquer the planet and become God or something. What if Sephiroth, instead of, I don't know, killing everyone, just talk to Cloud and Zack about his feelings? They could all just go to Dairy Queen and, Sephiroth would feel better and not kill people and just live happily ever after with his best buddies. Maybe in that version of things he meets up with Yuffie eventually from, what is that place? The Wu-Tang Clan? That island with the Japanese people? But Wu-Tai, it's called Wu-Tai. I think Sephiroth and Yuffie would be a good couple, provided Sephiroth's not a mass murderer or something. Just saying, could have gone there. Same with Anakin. Anakin, he's a true Greek tragedy. Because the whole point is about having a Greek tragedy. Greek myth is you're about a hero and they have some tragic flaw, and that leads to the downfall. That's what a Greek story is. There's a character... Heck, most of the Shakespeare plays are the same way. It's where the characters have some sort of flaw, and it's what leads to things going badly. Heck, the Canterbury Tales are all meant to be moral lessons. or just general insights into human psychology and behavior. And keep in mind, these are stories written several hundred years ago. Heck, what was the Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the oldest stories ever written. Heck, for a long time in the past, back before the internet existed, the most published book in all of the world was the Bible. But the second most published book in all the world was Don Quixote, a Spanish book. And it's about an elderly man with Alzheimer's who starts hallucinating and starts living out the life of the characters from his stories. This is a man who was never expressly rich, but he had enough money that he inherited that he never actually had to work himself. Now, he ran some businesses and stuff, but he never really had to work. And he had a lot of free time and relative comfort for the time that he lived in. Now, it was like the 14th, 15th century. Now, he had tons and tons of books of like the 12th century, of stuff like King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, and stories like that. He grew up and lived his whole life obsessing over these stories of brave, strong, courageous characters, of honor. And one could say he was an otaku, because it's like someone reading a bunch of Dragon Ball Z mangas and other mangas and just really getting into it. That's what Don Quixote was. He was a man who was relatively well off, and he was basically an otaku. He was a otaku 600 years ago in the past. Granted, television, electricity, and air conditioning didn't exist, and anime wouldn't be even thought up for just about forever at that point. Like, by the time anime would even start to exist, the author of Don Quixote's bones are dust. But Don Quixote is essentially an otaku, a weeb. He is a man who's relatively well off and just obsessed with anime shit, or at least the equivalent of it, from 600 years ago. And this man is an otaku, a weeb, because and of course he's getting old age, and he develops Alzheimer's. But here's the thing: he looks at his stories, and in his stories, the worlds are so vibrant and alive. And when he looks at the world around him, everything just feels so bland and dead. And he looks at the characters from his stories, how strong and brave they are. But he looks at the world around him, and he just sees it full of vice and cowardice and weakness. And so he strives out to be one of the heroes from his anime, from his manga. It's a fascinating story of a man who has an appreciation for the incredible adventures and stories that the human mind can imagine, but also the very depressing disconnect when you look at how disappointing and how much the world does not live up to the expectations that you have of it. But I feel Anakin Skywalker, Sephiroth, and Griffith are all very much the same. And granted, don't get me wrong, Griffith, Sephiroth, and Anakin, there's no excuse for what they did. All of them have done horrible, irredeemably, very bad things. But you can look at who they were before they made those choices and compare it a bit to Hinamizawa syndrome in terms of their behaviors. And while, take Griffith, even without the torture scenes, which again, a lot of that stuff that happened was very much self-inflicted by Griffith making a very stupid decision. And in fact, even Guts leaving was caused by Griffith's lack of properly, acknowledging him as a human being. Plus, Griffith had purposely misused him multiple times, including the death of Adonis. And then there was also the fact that when he had that duel with Guts, he was willing to kill Guts to keep him. He basically almost viewed him like a fucking yandere, that if he's not mine, he doesn't, and then no one can have him. When Guts just wanted to go out and find himself, develop himself, he wanted Griffith to respect him as an equal. He wanted to be seen as a friend and not as a tool. But Griffith, well, very narcissistic, couldn't abandon control, and in general, even before all that stuff, Griffith was not a good person. He had his redeeming qualities, mind you, but overall, there were bad things about Griffith as a person. And one could even say, given those circumstances and even the bad things that he had endured, it wasn't exactly a happy world they were living in. He didn't exactly have a good childhood. So all those things, you can have an understanding of how that would shape him to be a bad person later. It still doesn't excuse it. Same thing with the torture stuff. Very much you can understand how that would, like the concept of hell, it does not conduce a good, human personality or someone becoming benevolent. It's basically breaking a person. But at the same time, it doesn't excuse what he did in both the eclipse and the things he's done since. It doesn't justify it. It does not excuse it. He's still very much in the wrong for it, and it's still very much unacceptable, the choices that he made. But you can understand. I honestly prefer the HBI 2K version of it, the Berserk Abridged, where when the God Hand shows up to Griffith, he tells them to fuck off, that he would never betray his friends. They're basically saying, hey, we can fully recover you and make you a god. All you gotta do is betray the people who saved you. And it's like, no, they're my best friends. I care about them. And plus, they saved me. I'm not going to just betray them. I prefer that version of the story, where Griffith, doesn't betray everyone. And then Guts finds some fairies, and they manage to heal Griffith back to full health anyway. Griffith isn't really obsessed with his dream, or with ambition, or power, or being revered. He's able to find contentment and happiness with living a simple life of Guts and the others. And simply just Guts and Griffith and the others just laying out in a field in the middle of a very beautiful sunny day, and they're just looking up at the clouds go by. Just Griffith and Guts and a few others just sitting there. And they're just happy, enjoying nature together. Very simple pleasures of life, just the people you care about. But beyond that, I would say this. The question then is this. What about the Behalites? Yes, they are things that are used as a catalyst to summon the God Hand when you're in the most vulnerable state. But here's the question. Do the Behalites affect the person in general? Heck, would it excuse or justify, or at least absolve Griffith of blame if the Behalite itself were physically directly affecting the human? For example, what if the Behalite actually causes Hinamizawa syndrome? Hinamizawa syndrome. Like, what if it just starts making worms in your fucking brain? What if it's emitting radiation? What if the Behalite's sentient and it's actually like inserting thoughts? It's putting intrusive thoughts into your brain against your will. It's introducing foreign thoughts, telling you to do bad things. Basically, it's like, having voices be put in your head, but much more subtle. Heck, maybe like something like MK Ultra, or subliminal messaging, or mind control. Or what if it's having a direct effect on synapses of the brain? What if it's behaving like a drug? What if it's altering your levels of dopamine and serotonin, or even other chemicals? What if it's activating your adrenaline, your fight or flight response? What if it's amplifying certain emotions? What if it's like basically giving you shots of fucking heroin or opium or meth? Like what if wearing a meth, and it's not like you even know. It's just, what if like wearing the Behalites like giving you like meth? It's just you're being exposed like methamphetamines or heroin or something. And then at the time of the eclipse, not only you're more psychologically unbalanced from everything bad happening, but maybe what if it's been just giving you a bunch of heroin the whole time, and then right as the eclipse started, it gives you a shit ton more heroin. I mean, you wouldn't be thinking very clearly, would you? Especially if you don't know what heroin is, or if you're being exposed to it. Same regard, what if it's instead of a massive boost then, like you're just giving you heroin over and over, and then gives you a shit ton right when the eclipse happens, what if it's the other way? What if it's giving you a bunch of heroin, and then it keeps boosting the tolerance, and keeps giving you more and more to where you're constantly having that more of a high all the time, and then right as the eclipse happens, it cuts it off completely, and you're fully in withdrawal. I mean, at that point, the Godhead saying, hey, agree to these demands is like forcing someone into a massive dependency of like heroin or morphine or something, and then instantly taking it away from them cold turkey and dangling it in front of them and saying, hey, sign over your soul and we'll give you back your heroin. I mean, in that circumstance, would Griffith still be to blame? One, there's the fact that in order to be responsible for something, you have to have a choice. One, and knowledge and understanding of things. One, if you're being exposed to some sort of chemical and you don't even know it, then, I mean, it's not like you're making a choice. For example, say you're driving. Obviously, if you make the choice to drink and then you drive drunk, well, it's your fault because you made the choice to drink the alcoholic drink. But what if someone were to drug you with something similar to alcohol and you didn't know that and it didn't kick in until you were already driving? Well, you didn't make that choice. So a lot of times when it comes to that, like, in order to be responsible for doing something, you have to essentially consent to making the choices that lead to that. So basically, if you can make a situation where Griffith was not in a circumstance to be able to consent or be in the right state of mind, and people could say, well, about the torture and all that, and it's very true. And even then, after he becomes a member of the God Hand or an apostle, however you look at it, I mean, here's the thing. Obviously, you're this monstrous being that has super generation powers. Who's to say that's not also altering your brain chemistry? Heck, imagine if you had, like, computer chips in your brain, like cyberpunk. And we're not even talking, like, having negative effects like cyberpsychosis, where it's like an unintentional thing. What if you had an implant in your brain that was actually, like, telling you to do things, or putting voices in your head, or was implanting thoughts, or was messing with your dopamine or stuff, or could even simulate the effects of, drugs, or even any type of feeling that it wanted you to have? Heck, imagine if you could make someone, like, you could just, without their consent, just make them have terrible insomnia, or feel constant pain or arthritis. I mean, obviously at that point you're not forcing them to be a bad person, but you're kind of influencing fate. I mean, isn't that the whole point of the start of Berserk, is that, man has no control over anything, not even his own fate, or not even his own will. The idea being that, well, if fate is its own set thing, well, do you have a choice then? And even then, if there are beings that know every path that can exist in the world, and they choose what's happening and they can influence things, well, in that situation, it simply means you can just force someone down a linear path. Like, every possible choice they could ever make, and you can line up things to force them to make the choices that you want them to make. Is that fair? And at that point, is that person really liable at that point? Because at that point, did they really have a choice? And it's the same thing with, like, the bad elites. It's this. Like, and here's the thing, after even the process happens, I mean, obviously, we saw Griffith go into, like, a fucking cocoon thing. But here's the thing. Who's to say that, the structure of his brain isn't changed at that point? And even then, humans will behave differently. I mean, imagine like this. Imagine if you hadn't eaten in days, or imagine you're someone who hasn't slept well in a long time. Your ability to think clearly, or even have proper emotional regulation, would be changed. Heck, imagine if you could alter someone's hormones or their oxytocin levels or their adenosine levels or dopamine, serotonin, adrenaline, epinephrine. Heck, there's lots of things that exist naturally in the brain. Like technically it's not literally THC, but it's very similar to it. But there's chemicals like THC and DMT that naturally exist in the brain. In fact, your body needs them in order to function. Everyone's got a tiny bit in there. Your brain can't work without it. Now, of course, if you have more of it, well, you can have a much more vivid imagination, more active dreams, more creativity. But at the same time, there are people that, smoke the shit and have a massive amount more than it could ever be humanly possible. And, well, people see some trippy shit. And some people, suffer very serious negative effects. I mean, depending on every chemical is different, and there are many that work differently. I remember there was a person at one point, there was a scientist, a lot of drugs are made synthetically through experimentation. I think there's a thing called nitazines. It's like fentanyl, but stronger. It was invented in the 50s, but they decided to make it illegal because it's so potent that the ideal use for it, which was to be used in hospitals for patients, it's that not only would it be addictive, but it's so potent that the margin for error in terms of dosage is so difficult that they decided that when they evaluated the potency, they decided that there was no way that even for trained professional doctors and anesthesiologists would be able to use it responsibly, that they felt that the probability of accidentally killing their patients with it by accidentally getting the dosage wrong was just so risky and too high. It was just too dangerous. I remember there was, some person who made a synthetic version of cocaine. But the way they did it is that technically, you don't isolate some extra chemical that's made with it out, it makes this thing that can poison part of your brain and kill you. Obviously, he fucked that up and it killed him. There's also someone did a similar process, but it has a possibility. The whole point of the dope is it's supposed to massively push your dopamine to its limits, your receptors. But if you do it wrong, you can actually burn out the dopamine receptors completely. Thus, you lose the ability to feel any sort of pleasure about anything or happiness, to the point that it wouldn't matter what drug you take. It wouldn't matter how much cocaine or meth you could ever do, or heroin or whatever, you could never feel happiness, no matter what drug you used. I think that person killed themselves after a couple years. They just couldn't take it no more. Which again, that's the main thing when it comes to stuff like that, any sort of drug. You should definitely err on the side of caution, especially if it's something very strong in your body. Obviously there are certain things I use that I shouldn't, like lots of sugar and caffeine. At least, like I said, I'm avoiding the caffeine before bed. But at the same time, yeah, eating a lot of sugar and sweets and candy is probably not very good for me. And people could also argue maybe the addictive effects of sitting and playing video games or watching television. But yeah. But I guess the main thing I was just trying to say is, what if the Behelites actually have a direct effect on the human brain? What if the Behelites acting like a wireless, transmitter, beaming thoughts into Griffith's head, or changing things chemically? What if having the after all, he started to freak out once the Behelite was taken away from him. So what if the whole time, he was still experiencing pain, but what if the Behelite was giving him a painkiller effect? It was giving him dosage of cocaine and heroin and meth. And then all of a sudden that was taken away from him. Because he didn't really react. He still felt pain, but he wasn't really reacting to things as much. But once they took, they were tortured, doing horrible things to him, and he was still staying strong. But the moment they took that away from him, and it's more than just an emotional support at that point. It's the fact that it had a visible effect on him when they were taken away from him. So I think the Behelite was having an effect similar to a narcotic drug, or even a strong opioid. And then, of course, there's different classes of drugs as well. Like there's some drugs that are depressants, some that are stimulants, some that could be like, what if it had an effect like ecstasy or something, or psilocybin in some regard. Where there are some drugs that are dissociatives or deliriants, which are perhaps some of the most dangerous. And a lot of people, you abuse that stuff, and many of them die or permanently disable themselves. Heck, there's people out there that are like huffing like galaxy gas, and that stuff tends to degenerate your spine and cause brain damage if you use it. Like, granted, at moderate doses, it's fine. That's, meant to be like dentist stuff. That's fine. If you have to get it like once every few years to go see a dentist and have like a tooth removed, that's fine. But it's a completely different thing if you're like using it in a massive dose, more than it's supposed to be, for no reason, and you're doing it too often. The human body isn't meant to do that. Heck, there's people that inhale various things, and it tends to kill people. Like, people die from that shit. It's very dangerous. Heck, I've seen like some supplement places starting to carry this like Krava or something like that. I can't remember what it's called. I haven't used it, but like apparently it has a effect similar to stimulants and painkillers. And there are people that have reported using it for about a year and then going off of it, and that they said that it compares similar to a weaker version of a heroin withdrawal, which that doesn't sound pleasant at all. But apparently there's different variations and dosages and types of it. There's even a synthetic version that's more strong, which honestly at this point might get outlawed at some point. I know Joe Rogan was talking about it at one point. He was even saying that he was taking it a bit here and there. So, don't know if that's really the best decision. But I would say that especially with... Now, granted, I've taken supplements from, stores, but usually like creatine or, like amino acid stuff, like protein powders. But I've also tried like, hey, maybe I'll get more of this one vitamin or something like that, just trying to improve my health, and I don't seem to make any progress. And I take a lot of multivitamins. But yeah, by the way, does anyone ever read the books of Winnie the Pooh? Hey, you guys remember Paw Patrol or Blue's Clues? I never did finish the list of fusions. I stopped at Fusion 8. Fusion 9, Lichtbach Rihito and Takumi Nishijo. Lichtbach Rihito is the lead character from the anime The Plunderer, and Takumi Nishijo is the main character from the anime and video game called Chaos Head Noah. Fusion 10 is Date and Mikan Sumuki. Date is from AI The Somnium Files, a video game trilogy, and Mikan Sumuki is from Danganronpa 2 Goodbye Despair Island. I would also say that largely each of these individuals, Date and Mikan, each on their own have a very similar personality to me. Like, I feel, look at Date from AI The Somnium Files, that's me, that's my personality. Same way as Mikan Sumuki, that's basically my personality. Now mix them together. Same way, like I said, Rena, I see my personality in her. I also see my personality in Satoshi. Though with a lot of these fusions, I would say I see my personality in the fusion of them. Like, I wouldn't really say I would see my personality being a Astolfo or Jack Hanma, but I would imagine like what you'd get if you combine them is me. But Date and Mikan and Rena and Satoshi, I think each individually on their own, without the fusion, are very reminiscent of my own personality. And of course, fusion number 11, Mega Man Volnut and Alucard. Mega Man Volnut from Mega Man Legends for the PS1, the best Mega Man game ever made, and I still want a Mega Man Legends 3. And Alucard from the Hellsing Ultimate, the Team 4-star abridged version. As Ritsuko finished paying the check, she noticed the man in the suit. Oh, General Manager? Good morning, sir. The man in the suit said nothing. He just raised his chin as if saying, fuck off. Ritsuko and the others bowed to him and left the shop in a hurry. The proprietor noticed the man in the suit, also greeting him with a bow. Who could he have been? He appeared sedate compared to the other men, but he must be dangerous because he made even them step aside. Everybody in the shop thought the same thing and tried not to look at him. The man in the suit looked around and found the menu on the wall. The proprietor walked up to him hesitantly. Hey, waiter? Yes? Is anything bother you, sir? Do you have this seasonal dessert? Sweet something or other today? Huh? Oh, ha 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 ha. No, actually, we aren't running that today, but, well, if you insisted, then we could make it specially for you. If you're not selling it, you're not selling it. I'll come back some other day. Hey, Kasai! Hi, Shion. There's a version of the story where you want to kill Teppei for, his horrible abuse of Satoko, his niece. He said he'd make it for you. Take his offer. We came all the way here. The girl seemed to be the only one who couldn't read the heavy atmosphere of the shop, and she came in laughing cheerfully. It was Mion Sonozaki's twin sister, Shion. Shion pushed Kasai into the store while he hesitated. She looked at a girl who was sitting down and stopped in her tracks. Huh? Oh, it's you. Hello. Rena-san. How are you doing? Oh, Shi-chan. I'm surprised to see you here. Huh? Are you here by yourself? You waiting for someone? Is it my sis? Or maybe could it be Kei-chan? Shi-chan. Who is this? Are you talking about Kasai here? He's like my bodyguard. He'll protect me when my life is in danger, won't you? I'll give my life for your sake, if that's what you want me to do. Wow! Kasai, if you were 20 years younger, I might have fallen for you. He looks scary, but he's a very funny guy. This is Rena Ryugu-san. She's Sis's friend. My name is Kasai. Nice to meet you. Kasai-san. Do you know the people who just walked past you? Kasai nodded, indicating that he was familiar with them. Who are they? I've never seen them before. The man is Teppei Hojo, a skunk of a human being. Shion seemed to know who he was once she heard the name Hojo. And the woman? Rina Mamiya. I believe that's her business name. Her real name is Ritsuko Mamiya, I think. She's a hostess at the Flower Road. Kasai-san? Do you know what he is to her? They look like a couple to me. Hojo is Rina's pimp. They're very, very bad people, so you should never get involved with them. How bad are they? Rena? We should be fully honest right here and tell Mion, hey Mion, my dad started dating this girl that he's considering marrying her, and that's the girl. They were also talking about trying to steal from my father. What should I do? Because what we're going to do is I'm going to beat her to death in a fucking junkyard with perhaps a machete and an axe and a bat, or strangle her, depending on the storyline we're going with. But all of them involve me killing her. So yeah. Rena pressed him for the answer, and Kasai seemed to back down a little from the pressure. It's more courteous to stay out of a woman's private affairs. Not if she's fucking my dad and planning to rob my family. How bad are they? Please don't ask. How bad are they? Rena kept asking the same question, so she got to answer. Shion sensed how desperate Rena was and cut into the conversation. Kasai? Why don't you just tell her? I don't think she's asking out of curiosity. Am I right, Rena-san? I'm about to do a murder. I think I know the perfect picture I'd use for this if I can fucking find it. You guys will know, depending on the thumbnail I have. I still think it'd be interesting if you made a version of Higurashi, but just a bunch of VTubers. Or just asked VTubers to watch. Heck, I wonder if the VTuber I'm thinking about using, because I remember seeing a meme, I wonder if that VTuber's ever, played this game or watched the anime. There was tension developing between Rena and Kasai. Shion seemed to be the only one who couldn't read the mood. Kasai finally opened his mouth. They're both skunks, really. I've heard that they make a living by gambling and blackmailing people. I've also heard that they set up badger games. What's a badger game? Well, a badger game is like a marriage fraud. The woman finds a catch, a man who has money, and begins a relationship with him. Then her boyfriend shows up and catches them in the act, blames the guy for stealing his girlfriend, and then blackmails him for money. First, the woman makes him buy expensive stuff for her, and then she and her boyfriend take all of his money. There's a rumor that she's got herself a big catch recently. Yeah, it's my dad. Wow. Whoever that is, I'm so sorry for him. Well, the guy had some fun with her too. I guess he gets what he deserves. That's a little harsh, Shion-san. A man sometimes falls for a woman very easily. Oh, really? I wonder whom you fell for. Waiter, bring the dessert to us, please. Wait. Where did she go? She just took her leave. Rena was already gone. The door, which had just closed, looked as if it was the only thing that she knew where she went. We should have talked to Shion about why. She just explained the whole, we should have explained, hey, that badger you're talking about, that's my dad, Shion. That person's been going to my fucking house. We should have talked to Shion. But a better choice than what we're doing. We're about to fucking pip a pickin here. Also, shouldn't need to say it, but I am quite certain that the VTuber whose picture I'm going to be using, because it's part of a meme, I'm pretty sure she would not condone murder. Heck, there was some fucking news article thing where people were trying to blame Kirsch and Pippa for some dude being violent, but when really it was a guy who was... He was a person with the Democrat Party who was working for Tim Walz. And he basically, unofficially, and granted if it actually gets proven at some point, maybe Tim Walz should actually face some legal repercussion. But basically, there were some Democrats that sided with Trump, and, well, they got shot. And people said, oh, it's MAGA. No, it's... But anyway, it's oh, we found stuff with Pippa and Kirsch on there. But at the end of the day, it's heck, I remember a lot of people... It's just... There's funny VTuber personalities that play games and do other stuff also. They talk about stuff, but I'll tell you this. At no point do they advocate for anyone hurting anybody. They do not condone or encourage violence. And they both love America very, very much. So they would not encourage anyone to do anything violent. But I do think both of them would probably like this anime and video game a lot. When I got home, the door was locked. I used my key to get in and found a note in the living room. Something's come up, so I have to go. I'm going to eat out tonight, is what the note said. This wasn't the first time he'd done something like this. Each time he'd only told me he had to go to Okonomiya for something. But I knew the real reason because I heard him talking on the phone once. Rina-san must have free time between jobs and asked him out to have dinner together. Hey, so a hooker who's involved with blackmail and gambling and is fucking Tepe Hojo is fucking and planning to fraud your dad. That's terrible. So, Retta, you gonna have a nice conversation with Shion, or are we having a conversation with your axe? I heaved a sigh, looked at the new living room I hated, and went to my room. I thought back over what I just heard at the coffee house. I tried to rationalize the meaning of her actions there. Maybe she had to pretend to be a bad person because she was being threatened by the man. We should have talked to Shion on the spot, right then and there. Like, not even if we expected them to do anything. Just that they should know. Rena, we should have talked to Shion and Kasai and explained the situation right then and there. Not telling them was a very bad decision. But even after the man called Techan left the table, she continued to threaten the guys and pushed them into signing the loan contract immediately. If she was threatened to play along with the man, she wouldn't have done that. If she was pretending to be a bad person, she could have shown a little bit of mercy or sympathy when he was left alone with them. It's like holding water in a bowl you made with your hands. No matter how sturdy you make the bowl, water would leak from your fingers. Mercy and sympathy leak out from you. But nothing, not even a drop of water leaked from Rina-san. Her hands weren't even moist. They were all dried up. There was no water that could leak through those hands. Rina-san was threatening those guys as much as the man was. Neither was leading the other along. They were doing it together. That was it. Rina-san is a bad person. My brain cells accepted the idea with applause. Again, I agree, Rena, but we should have told Shion and Kasai at the time. Heck, it's not too late. We should call Shion now. If not, we should call Mion. If not, we should go to someone's house and talk to one of our friends. After all, I always hated Rina-san. We continue down this line of reasoning without talking to anyone. We're going to fucking Sephiroth, Cloud's hometown here. We're going about to fucking lightsaber a bunch of younglings in the Jedi Council room. We're about to sacrifice Guts and the Band of the Hawk to a bunch of giant hungry caterpillar things. And don't be wrong, Rina-san, Ritsuka, and Tepe, even for this shit, deserve to die. Let alone how Tepe was abusing, Satoko and committing a lot of very, very, very bad child abuse. But just because they deserve to die doesn't mean we need to be murdering them. We should go talk to our friends. The very minimum, if we still have to murder them, we can murder them as friends. As a group project. We need to talk to people, Rena. That's the best course of action. We should have told Shion on the spot. But after we've accepted this thing and we've had time to process, our first course of action should be, call Shion and talk to her. Even if we have to meet her in person at night, we just tell her it's important. I think talking to Shion and Kasai right now at Shion's apartment is a much better choice than summoning the fucking black materia using Meteor. Than, becoming Darth Vader. Our fucking lightsaber axe, hatchet, machete thing. Just saying. You have every right to hate Rina, especially with this. And they have every right to deserve to die. Doesn't mean we should be murdering them. And also doesn't mean we should be left alone with these very, very not What's the opposite of murdery? What's the opposite of murder? Whatever that is, Rena's not able to think of that word right now. Just saying, right now, we can be angry as shit as possible, but we need emotional support, especially from someone who can understand shit. Shion. We need to talk to Shion. Also, I know for some reason later on in the story, at some point, we beat the shit out of and nearly kill Mion, and then eventually almost kill a bunch of people. There's also a point later on where we do murder Rina and Tepe, and then we start believing aliens are invading the planet, and we go like full Alex Jones, and then we pour a bunch of gasoline all over the school and threaten to blow it up if the police don't help us fight the alien lizard people. We also almost kill Mion and badly injure her head. And then we have a fight with our axe against Keiichi and his baseball bat on top of the roof of a building. Just saying, we should, go the route of talking to Shion. I just couldn't accept the feeling because my father liked her. But at that moment, I can finally accept it. She's a bad person, just like my mother. She's an existence that will ruin everything and destroy my father's happiness just by being with him. But I wonder if my father would understand that Rina-san is a bad person if I told him so. My father likes her so much that he would jump over a cliff if she asked him to. He thinks everything she does or says is great. He interprets everything about her in a positive way. He protects her and praises her without her asking him to. I'm not a kid anymore. I understand how a woman can tame a man. It's different from love. Love is about trying to build a relationship. Taming is just a way of satisfying the lust to dominate. She's just trying to make him into her slave. Isn't that like manipulation? And like where it's not about love or happiness or joy, it's about exerting dominance and control. That's not very nice. Women can deceive men, even my father. They can just use dirty methods to ensnare men like they're following a manual. It's the weak point all men were born with. Even with a strong will, they can't resist it. That's why we hate those women who exploit that weak point to deceive men. That's why I couldn't bring myself to like Rina-san. For the sake of argument, let's assume I acknowledged an unreciprocated love like that. But that would only be as long as it was love. If it wasn't love, and it was just a method to threaten and squeeze money out of him, I would never forgive her. I remember their conversation at the coffee house. Rina-san said my father is a big spender. In fact, he spends more money without hesitation than before he met Rena. I was happy that he started regaining interest in going out into the world again, but now I don't know whether I should be happy or not. He controls the money of Ryuga family overall, but since I do grocery shopping, he often gives me his bank book so that I can withdraw money. Because of that, I know where he keeps his bank book, his personal seal, and other important stuff. They're in one of his drawers, which he usually locks. I know where he hides the key, and I know the combination of the cash box inside the drawer. He might be coming back soon, so I felt a little nervous, but I had to make sure. I opened the cash box, which had some bank books, personal steals, stamps, unused postcards. I removed everything from the cash box to get at the bank books. Then I found something new. On the bottom of the box, there was a bundle of new 10,000 yen bills. Its thickness wasn't something I could ignore. There was also a paper wrapper that looked like it had been bundling the bills. The wrapper had a stamp that said it was a bundle of 1,000,000 yen. He usually kept some cash at home because it was troublesome to go to the bank every time he needed money, but it was usually around 100,000 to 200,000 yen at most. He never kept such a big amount of money at home before because he knows it's unsafe. The extraordinary amount of 10,000 yen bills was abnormally intimidating. I tried to open the bank book, but my fingers got numb all of a sudden. A part of me was trying to deny the things I heard at the coffee house. It wasn't because I wanted to defend my father or even Rina-san. It was because I didn't want to believe my father was the husband in Hinamizawa the blackmailers were talking about. I opened the bank book. The last time I saw it was about 2 or 3 months ago. It shows countless withdrawals since that day. I probably wouldn't normally understand what those numbers meant, but I felt that in the moment as the tens of digits were speaking to me. They were a series of cruel digits. It starts with some understandable expenses that I assume represent dinners or something. But then the amount of money starts to become nice round numbers, like 5 or 10. I can tell by looking at the dates he withdrew money that he wanted to have a certain amount of cash on hand when he went out with Rina-san. Among those expenses, a big number appeared all of a sudden. It was too much money to spend on a date, hundreds of thousands of yen. I looked at the date of the withdrawal and traced it back to my memory. I remembered. Around that time, Rina-san was talking about moving into a new apartment. I know the market rate of rental apartments in Okonomiya. You need to put down 2 safety deposits and 2 payments of a key money in order to rent an apartment. That amount of withdrawal sounds reasonable now. He paid the whole down payment for her new apartment. After that, big numbers appeared one after another. I could tell they were congratulatory gifts for her new apartment or something. The number got bigger and bigger. It looked like at first he was withdrawing only the amount of money needed, but then he started withdrawing big amounts all at once because he knew he was going to use it someday anyway. Okay, here's the thing. Obviously, it's really fucked up that, Rina is trying to scam him. But let's be clear, even if it wasn't a scam and she actually was legitimately into him, Rena's dad is being stupid. He's being very, very stupid. Like, the change meant only one thing. He lost his sense of value of money. The balance kept going down, and I started feeling anxious about what's going to happen if he continued spending money like that. But then I saw a deposit of a big amount of money into the account. Where did that money come from? There was only one thing I could think of. I opened the other bank book. It was easy, like a puzzle for kids. It was like playing with an easy jigsaw puzzle that comes from huge pieces that you don't even know how to put together to see the whole picture it looks like. My father was using money from his time deposits. In other words, the settlement my mother paid my father was when she divorced him. To him, it's cursed money. I'd understand if he wanted to use it to get a new love, but that was just an excuse to use the money from his time deposits. Money is money. Even though it's his divorce alimony, it's still important money for our future. Even though it's cursed money to him, that doesn't mean he can waste it. Big expenses started appearing one after another. There are many expenses upwards of 6 digits. For some reason, I could immediately tell they were buying electrical appliances and furniture. He must have been buying everything she asked him to. If, from the beginning, Rina-san was only seeing to check if he could end up being a big catch, she must have been trying to find out how much money she could squeeze out of him. My father bought her anything she wanted, no matter how expensive it was, so she could probably think of him as the perfect catch now. The numbers in the bank book told me so. The simple numbers and dates in the bank book had started talking to me. Around the time he started withdrawing big amounts of money, Rina-san started coming to the house more often, and she also started spending the night. To Rina-san, my father was at first just a guy who spends big money, but around the time she landed her big catch, my father used to refer her as my friend in Okonomiya at first, but he started referring to her as Rina-san around that time. This is partially his fault, but he was betrayed by his beloved wife, and he was feeling hurt and down for a long time. It's also partially my fault. That's why I didn't want to blame him. And he's not that good looking either. There's no way he's immune to women. He must not have been able to resist any attractive woman who aggressively approached him when he was feeling down. He's crazy about Rina-san, and he can see nothing other than her. I can't blame him because Rina-san trained him to be that way. I put the bank books and the other things back into the cash box. This cash box is just like my father's heart. Rina-san is eating up the contents. What should I do? Call Shion. We now have evidence, even though we already did. At this point, our best course of action is to call Shion. We need to go call Shion. We need to think Rena Ryugu. Call Shion. Should I tell him about Rina-san's schemes? Maybe, but only after talking to Shion. We need to talk to Shion now. At this very second. We cannot afford to delay any longer. We need to call Shion or get in contact with her. If we don't have a number nor an apartment, we need to go to Mion's. If we can't do that, we need to go to Keiichi's and spend the fucking night. Even if it's on his mom and dad's couch. Even if I have to sleep in the room with his parents. We cannot stay in this house one night longer or else horrible, horrible things will happen. And again, it's not like certain people don't deserve the horrible things to occur. I'm just saying, Rena, you do not deserve the psychological change it would cause in you to give this person what they deserve. Plus, Shion is our friend. We need to talk to Shion. We need to talk to Shion. We need to talk to Shion. We need to talk to Shion now. No, that probably wouldn't do anything. I mean, it could, But again, Shion. Yes, telling our dad, probably a good call. But first, Shion. In fact, we should have told them at the restaurant. But fine, we needed time to process and we needed time to collect our own personal evidence. We've accomplished that. Goal accomplished. We need to leave the house now. If we know Shion's phone number, we need to call her. If we know Mion's phone number, we need to call her. In fact, if not, we need to just go to Mion's fucking house and demand to spend the night. It's important. And then call Shion from Mion's house. This is important. We cannot wait. We cannot wait. It has to be done now. We need to contact Shion. We need to talk to Shion. We need to talk to our friend now. The whole point of taming an animal is that it won't run away from its owner even when the door is wide open. My father probably won't leave his cage even if I open the door. Should I confront Rina-san about her plot when he's with her? The results would be the same. Rina-san would run behind his back. He'd probably try to protect her. If she pressed her breasts against his back, he'd protect her no matter what. I couldn't make this a problem between me and him. First of all, I was trying to get rid of Rina-san for his sake. If we got mad at each other, it would give the advantage to Rina-san. It would be like I was putting myself into her trap. Then that meant I couldn't make him do anything. If I couldn't make him break up with Rina-san, I'd have to talk to Rina-san directly. So instead of making my father fight, I'd have to fight in his place. But how? By that guy Kasai with Shio seemed to know the man Rina-san. Yes, we need to talk to Shion, Shi-chan, Kasai-san. I wonder if I can somehow meet him. We have to now. He looks scary, but I was introduced as a friend to Mi-chan's. Mi-chan has a lot of power around her. We need to call either of the sisters this second. In fact, you know what? If we don't get a hold of anyone on the phone, we can just go over there. Even if it's fucking midnight. We need to knock. We need to bang her fucking door down. This is extremely important. We cannot stay here a second longer. We need to go to our friends. We need their help. We need to talk to them. We need their assistance. We are not okay. There's no way he would treat me badly. I wonder if you could tell Rina-san and the man to back off from my father. That helped me a lot. But I didn't know how I could meet him again. I could ask Mi-chan for help, but I don't want her to know about my situation. This is the problem with the Ryuga family. No. 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 You have friends. Talk to your friends. That's what they're there for. This is nobody's business in my mind. Your friends care about you. Talk to your friends. Yes, this is the battle I have to fight. No. You don't have to fight it alone. You're not alone. You're not fucking Zidane from Final Fantasy IX. Or rather you are. You're not alone. Rely on your fucking friends. You don't have to do this shit alone. I regretted my parents' divorce. I wept about the tragedy I could have prevented if I tried. It's not your fault. I wasn't going to weep this time. I also shouldn't murder people. Just saying, even though they deserve it. I'm just saying I can totally relate there. I understand there's situations where people deserve to die, but murder is not the choice. Even if the people involved deserve to die, you still shouldn't actually murder them. I wasn't going to let that chance slip away. This time I'd fight for my happiness. By talking to Shi-chan. Call your friends. Go over to Mion's house, bang on her fucking door. Call Shion and have Shion and Kasai come to the fucking place. If we make this, explanation to Oryu-san, the husband in Hinami's house, accidentally uncover a horrible truth. Talk to... I'm pretty sure we talked to fucking Grandma Sonozaki. She will fucking understand. Dear Ritsuko Mamiya-sama. Is this Rena's dad? The Executive Housing Corporation. Attached estimate. Are you trying to get the deed to the fucking house? We thank you for the past visits and inquiries to our office. We've included the estimate for the property you inquired about. Basic information. Property name, place. Palace of Versailles, room 707, property code 14M, modern condominium. So it's a condo. Oh, it's our apartment. Layout, address, Shishimoto, Koi. Okay. Transportation line, Gogura Station, on foot. Cost, Jesus Christ! What do you mean maintenance? Jesus fuck! This is insane! Even in yen! Even Even by modern pricing. Jesus Christ. Membership. Rena, your dad's retarded. Thank you for your interest in property area. It's prime real estate. Luxury. Damn right. Jesus. Well, future plan developments, real estate values, accepted to rise, not exception. So what many buyers are interested in property, hence we'd like you to understand the selection process for this property done via lottery. Also, we also offer a celebrity member preferential treatment, granting highly improved chances through additional lottery. I wonder who's going to pay for that, Rena's dad. Please feel free to inquire with our agents. And this is not fair, like you're like abandoning your fucking child by selling out her fucking inheritance in future. Celebrity account manager Kawa Tabata. Well, Rena, your dad's like calling him a simp isn't even 1/1,000,000th of what he deserves to be called. Jesus. It's daytime. We're at school. Talk to her. Oh, you're talking about Kasai-san. He's Shion's watchdog. Her watchdog, really? Yes, he is. Shion tends to do crazy things, so she needs to have someone watch her all the time. I think you're as crazy as Shion. Keiichi-kun cut into the conversation. They ended up making a lot of noise, teasing each other like they always do. Technically, everyone in this entire... all the main characters need a character like Kasai. You know, honestly, it would have been nice if Kasai had stayed over that one time in Chapter 2, Chapter 5. Just saying this. We need to talk to Shion. We need to call Shion. At least we're asking about Kasai. But here's the thing. We're at school. We're with our friends. Talk to them. It's what they're there for. You need to talk to them. Not talking to them is a very bad decision. Don't do that. Don't do the not talking to them thing. Mion made it sound like the man Kasai is some sort of territory boss in Okonomiya. It wouldn't be easy for me to meet him in person. Shion literally fucking owns him. Okay? Talk to Shion. All you have... hell, just could have talked to them at the fucking restaurant. When you saw them. Like, all you had to say is like, oh, that woman's been banging my dad and is trying to marry him. He's the husband of Hinamazawa. Okay? Should have told them. But because Shi-chan's watched, I might be able to find a way. Problem, though, is I don't have any connection to Shi-chan either. Her fucking sister! Talk to Mion! We hang around every once in a while whenever she comes to Hinamizawa, but I've never called her visitor. I have no idea how we can meet. Talk to her literal fucking sister, who is in front of you. Even if I could meet Kasai, there's no guarantee that... You should still try. You need to do that. Also, not just Kasai. You need to talk to Shion. And perhaps Mion. You need to talk to them. He seems like the kind of person who doesn't like to gossip about others. He told me about Rina-san at the coffee house only because Shi-chan pushed him to. Plus, the situation could grow worse very quickly by way of the chance to meet him. So any help he might offer could come... Yeah, so do it now. Talk to them now. I remember Kasai told me that, as their next step, Reina-san usually uses their partner to threaten their catch. That would signify the end of their performance. They were going to take all of my father's money. I wasn't feeling a sense of crisis yet, but that time might be coming very soon. Even as I was at school, taking a class peacefully, that man might already be at the house, right at this moment, threatening my father to hand over his bank books. Which, again, would be incredibly stupid. But then again, Rena's dad is stupid. Once I become anxious, I get more and more anxious. I could feel a big pressure on my chest as if the ceiling had collapsed on me. Talk to people. Man, I'm so bored. My life is too peaceful. Yep, that's about to change. Keiichi-kun talks to me yawning. Is that so bad? I'd love to have a peaceful life. That'd be more of me. I don't. I wish some kind of big event would happen, like aliens coming to attack us or something. I'm not saying I'd like to have something like that every week, but at least the end of the month every so. Oh, and that doesn't include our monthly test. If aliens really did come, destroyed the Earth, and burned all of Hinamizawa, would you be satisfied? Would you? No, that's not what I mean. I'm just saying that I want for some kind of excitement because I'm so bored. He had no idea what he'd been going through. Of course, that's why he says that. Again, talk to your friends. They can't read your minds. But I was still irritated by his insensitivity. I couldn't understand why he wouldn't be satisfied with such a peaceful life. He never has to doubt that today and tomorrow will be as fun as yesterday. I was all too aware that boring, peaceful days could be destroyed all of a sudden. I knew that boring and peaceful days could come to an end all of a sudden because your mom wanted to divorce your dad. I knew that you could feel like you didn't belong anywhere in your own house because your dad had gotten a new girlfriend. Even so, you had to repeat the same kind of day over and over again. He doesn't know any of that either because you have been hiding it from him. That's why I want to live every day happily in order to be prepared for when the world comes to an end. I'm jealous of you, you know? You look so happy all the time. I wish I had that kind of skill. I'm not fucking happy. I'm just faking a smile because, 1, I don't want people to know I have depression. 2, most people wouldn't care and wouldn't be able to help. And most people actively, would be the opposite of help. And again, it's personal. And you just generally don't want people to know that stuff because it's very personal and sensitive. But then again, if you have close friends in this situation, yes, you should talk to them about the serious things bothering you. I remember a point when I talked to some of my friends. They listened to me. That was nice. Though they all moved away. They're all gone and I have no friends anymore. And all my life is just I go to work and then I come home and talk to my computer and then post me talking to my computer on the internet. Alienated from my son, but I hope that gets better. Pay the child support to his guardians. They use it. They take care of him. They use it on him. And here's the thing. He's happy. He's safe. He's healthy. He's alive. He's well taken care of. In fact, they love him as if he's their own son. But again, I miss him. But I'm just glad he's doing okay. My mom, I see sometimes. I love my mom very, very much. In fact, I would say my mom is the person I love and trust the most in this whole world, even more than my son. But also, she's old. And it's not like I love her any less because of that, but the fact is, it's already been a miracle that the multiple times that she hasn't died from certain things happening. Eventually, she will die. And I don't want that to happen. She's the person I love and trust the most in the whole world. I would feel more sad at her death than if I found out that nuclear war had happened. Like, even if I found out like 5 billion people in the world had died, I would feel more sad about my mother dying than I would about the news of 5 billion people dying to World War III and it being an ongoing issue. I would be more sad at the death of my mother than finding out that basically everyone in the world outside of Ohio is dead. Like basically nearly 8 billion people are dead and all only left is Ohio. I would feel more sad about my mom dying than I would about that. I'm a very sentimental person. Heck, I still have my baby blanket. Granted, I tend to be very gentle with it because it's very old and it's a white blanket. I've showed it in a video before. Though it's mostly, you can't see a lot of it, but it's a white blanket that's very thin and it's got Mickey Mouse in the Winter Olympics doing a bunch of skiing on it. I'm very sentimental. I intend to keep that blanket forever. Whenever I die, I'll either be buried with it or I'll give it to anyone that I think would actually cherish it as something that should never, ever be disposed of for all time. But that being said, I have to be very gentle with the blanket because the blanket is full of holes and it's very faded and it's torn up in a lot of places. A lot like my soul, or my heart, or my mind, however you want to put it. But yeah, the blanket is something I'm very sentimental about. It's something I plan to keep forever. And it's full of holes, and it's faded, and it's torn up. Just like me. And also, just like me, it's not repairable. But every day out there in the world, I'm always smiling and friendly and kind and cheerful to everyone I see. Heck, I tend to be patient and understanding of other people, and yet I tend to say the most horrible things to myself. Then again, most of my life has been various people saying very bad things to me. Heck, I got bullied a lot in school. Heck, people were throwing fucking rocks at me back in kindergarten even. And that sort of stuff continued for most of my time in school. So, figure a decade of people just constantly telling you how much they hate you. Heck, eventually you just got used to the idea that everyone in the world thinks I'm ugly, everyone in the world considers me worthless and disgusting and hates me. And everyone just views me as some sort of defect. It's funny. I graduated high school with a 4.0 honors diploma, had an IQ of 132, took classes like calculus, physics, chemistry, straight A's, and all of it. Could even do some of those fucking math problems in my fucking head. Didn't even have to write down my work. Just looked at it and could solve it in my head. I don't think I could ever do that stuff even on paper anymore. My short-term memory's definitely gone to shit. Also, in recent years, I've come to decide that I might have ADHD or autism, as well as major clinical depression and borderline personality disorder, but hey, also like 100 types of PTSD. Everyone's like, what do you mean types of PTSD? I'm just saying, looking over the course of my life, I can list 100 plus circumstances that have happened to me that would be PTSD inducing. Not going to go into detail. A lot of those things are very personal. I'm just saying there's a lot of things that have just been not good for my mental health. I'll tell you this. I've had depression for a fucking long time. Since I was probably maybe 10, 8, who knows, years old. So then again, I can, from every decade of my life, I can list various PTSD situations that occurred even during the first decade of my life. So, but I think I've coped well with it. Been in a lot of isolation. That's probably the talking to myself thing. Seems less crazy if I do it as part of a Let's Play. But I think it's just I've spent majority of my life in complete isolation. Granted, I spent a lot of time trying to talk to my friends and stuff too, but most of my life has been spent alone. Heck, I would say not even counting online dating stuff back when I was trying, I probably got rejected by at least 10,000 women IRL in person. Then again, even the women that did date me or a relationship, literally every woman I went on a date with or even had a relationship or marriage with cheated on me. And every relationship that ended, the person was very clear that they never found me attractive at all to begin with, and that they just lied to me. So, that's depressing. I've never met a single person in my life that actually thought I was attractive. So, sad face. Then again, I didn't even have my very first kiss until I was already of American drinking age. Beyond that, I can at least say of every relationship I had, I never cheated on anyone or mistreated anybody ever. And heck, in terms of relationships, I always behaved like a super hyper affectionate person. I was really happy at the idea of someone actually caring about me. Heck, I know for a while there, before I even met the person that would become my ex-wife, I just given up the hope that I would ever have a wife or a family. I really wanted to have children. I wanted a family. And eventually I just sort of gave up on it. Decided that it was simply completely impossible. Could never happen. Now I'm of the mindset I never want to get married or have kids ever again. Because I don't want to lose another family. Heck. Let's say predominant reasons to be gay. Reason 1, I like cock. Reason 2, I don't want to ever lose another family. I don't want to go through another divorce. I don't want to be stuck in a legally binding contract with a psychotic, abusive, adulterous bitch. I don't want to have to worry about how my child's being neglected or abused while I'm at work. Nor do I want to have another child taken away from me. Or we're out fucking family court or any of that shit. Or have a child used against me as a weapon or a hostage. Or have a child taken away from me. Or be a situation where I have to sign my son over to his grandparents in order to protect him from his psychotic mother. The funny thing is this. That it came to that head about a week after the divorce was official. And a week after that, the guy she was cheating on me with ditched her. And a week after that, she was literally begging and groveling, begging me to remarry her. Not just get back together and give her a chance. Like she was wanting to remarry me. She was so surprised when I told her no. Heck, I did everything I could to make my marriage work. Heck, for a long time I was blaming myself for everything that was happening and the way she was being. Heck, about half a year before, the adultery and the marriage, I had that 3-inch scar on my right arm. Still tried to make my marriage work after that. I know for the first 3 months I had to wear long sleeves so no one could see my arm. Wasn't deep enough to need stitches, but any deeper it would have. 3-inch scar on my right arm, it's still there. Our son was 2.5 years old. He was playing with his Christmas presents. Granted, he had, in a couple weeks, had to have a ear surgery. Had to have tubes put in his ears and his adenoids taken out. I was also very scared about that. And worried about my child. He was playing with his Christmas presents. He was happy. She felt annoyed. So she started yelling, screaming, cussing, picking up his toys in her hand, breaking his toys in her hand, throwing his toys into the wall, kicking his toys, kicking them so hard they'd break, and then kicking the wall. Of course, the young child that he was saw this, was upset, started walking towards her, crying and upset that his mom's screaming, yelling, cussing, and breaking his toys and throwing them. And she got more angry at that. So I stepped in between my wife and my son and asked her to please stop. She lunged at me, and she stopped when she saw the blood coming out of my arm. She went up to our room, left me and my son downstairs. My son looked so scared and confused. I don't blame him. Hell, I felt confused as fuck too. And even though, she had been, a bit psychotic up to that point already, and I'd kind of already gotten to the point that I was thinking that eventually we might get divorced, and I was just trying to keep the family together because I didn't want to lose my son. And I kind of got used to the idea at that point, what's a wife? A wife is somebody who doesn't help you in anything, doesn't cook, doesn't clean, doesn't work. You have to spend extra money on the person, and the person neglects and is abusive to your child, and is neglectful and abusive toward you. Granted, we were still fucking, but every day I came home to a wife that was yelling at me every fucking day. I couldn't get any sleep. I was always woken up every time I tried to sleep. Always getting yelled at. Always being told how ugly I am, how worthless I am, how much she hated me. Heck, I'd open the fucking door and she'd be like, "Oh, the asshole's back." And of course, I told you guys a story about when I was going through the divorce. She's still living with me at the time being, and heck, once she was openly doing the adultery, I didn't want to have sex with her anymore, because it was just gross, the disgusting idea of even touching her at that point. Though she still wanted to have sex, kept badgering about me on it, even forced herself on me a couple times, no matter how much I fucking said no. Then there's the issues with that hotel thing, with her and that one guy that I already told you guys about. Or the thing with the one guy's dad or whatever. And of course the thing right before when the divorce became official. Or the time that, I came home from work and she had just had him locked up in his room the whole day and he didn't seem to be breathing. Looking back at that, I'm pretty sure he was dead. And then God, Jesus decided to resurrect him. Otherwise, I was going to kill everybody because, from my point of view, I was, on my knees holding the corpse of my child because he wasn't breathing and he hadn't been breathing for a while. So I was very emotionally not okay. But then he started, breathing and opening his eyes and saying, "Daddy, I love you, Daddy." And then, I gave him a bath and did everything I could to make the situation better. And again, it's like there's not like there's anything I could have done that wouldn't have resulted in his death. Like literally every choice I made was necessary to keep him alive. Anything else I would have done would have resulted in her just disappearing with him. Or the police somehow still seeing me as the bad guy in that situation, at which point, well, I'm now in jail and have a thing against me, and then I wouldn't be able to do anything for my child. Same thing, I know that if I hadn't signed him over to his grandparents a week after the divorce was official, he was going to die. He wouldn't have survived his mother. He would have died before his 5th birthday. Granted, I haven't seen him blow out his candles of his cake for his birthdays since his 3rd birthday. It's funny. For the first 5 years after the divorce happened, I spent a couple hours a day sitting in his room talking to his stuffed animals and crying. Granted, there was, at least for that first year and a half of that, he was at least coming over on the weekends. And that was nice. And then, a couple months before the COVID pandemic happened, his grandparents said he should stop spending the night and just spend the day and come back over. They were trying to say that it was because they wanted to make sure he got up in time to go to church and stuff, and which I felt like, that's, he has other times he can do that. It shouldn't get in the way of my time with my child. But I wasn't able to win that argument. And then the pandemic happened. I went a year and a half without being able to see my son in person because they were being assholes about it. And again, it's a mixed bag of things. At least he's safe from his mom. At least she can't use him as a weapon against me. And at least he's alive. They take good care of him. They spend the child support on him. And he's well taken care of. He's safe. He's happy. He's alive. I care more about his well-being than I do care about my own petty emotions about how much I love and miss him. I just want what's best for him. After the first year of the pandemic thing, it was about a year after I had not seen him in person that I started this channel as an outlet. Yay, the Happy Comedy Let's Play channel. And well, after about another half a year, I started able to see him in person again, and I was doing face chatting and going over there to see him and playing with him at the park and all that. And seeing him usually about 6 or 8 times a year. Still not as much, but I was like, it'll get better. And then about a year and a half ago, plus, he just, like, they just started like dodging me a lot and ignoring my calls. And then when I do even when I did get to talk to like over a year ago, he was like, he just saying that he didn't want to see or talk to me anymore for some reason. And of course, then just times goes on with that, and he just, Then I was going to talk to him on my birthday a little bit, but then he just said he was only doing that because he was being forced to. But I haven't yelled at him or said anything mean to him at any point. Even when he said that stuff to me, which it doesn't make sense. But at no point, like, just all I've said back to him was, I love you, and I don't understand, and I want to see and talk to you. I'm always here for you. So I don't understand. The last time I saw him in person, heck, it was either the last time I saw him or the second to last time I saw him in person. I gave him a Pokeball it was a little gold plate covered Pokemon Polygraph thing that I got from a Burger King back when I was like 13 or something. I had kept that thing for like 25 years or something. Well, 24. But it's just, the last time I saw him in person, I'd gone over there. We had a good time. We played at the park. He had a lot of fun. And then when it came time for me to go, when you were at his grandparents', and it was time for me to leave, he was sad that I was leaving. He was like, can Daddy stay later? Can Dad come over again tomorrow? Can Daddy come over again next week? And they're like, oh, no, we're busy. Maybe the week after that. And, and I left that day feeling hopeful that the weekend after the next, I'd go see him again, and that in time, I'd be able to, go back to seeing him regularly, spending more time with him, and things would get better. I know for a while, like, it was hesitant for him, like with the COVID pandemic, like at first, at that time, he didn't even want to go to stores, even with his grandparents. Like, he was scared of the outside world. Sometimes I wonder if he blames me for the way his mother is. Like, he's angry at me for choosing such a horrible person to have a child with. Sometimes I worry if his grandparents that he's being raised by, if maybe they're not treating him very well and I'm just not allowed to know about it. What if they're threatening to hurt him if he doesn't say he doesn't want to see or talk to me? But there's really nothing I can do. As far as I know, they're taking the best care of him in the world. And I mean, granted, I always wanted to raise and take care of him myself, and it was horrible that my child was taken away from me. But at this point, like, my own mental and physical health has deteriorated. I'm not even sure if I really could take care of him now. If all of a sudden somehow he would be with me and I'd be like had his custody back and everything. I don't know how I'd function anymore. I'm not sure if I could really be the father he would need to be at that point. I know I always did the best I could in the past. Heck, I remember raising him. I was the one taking, like, not only was I working and paying all the bills, but I was taking care of him. I took him to the doctor's appointments. I changed his diapers. I gave him baths. I fed him, both when it was milk bottles, both when it was solid food. I took him to the park. I read him stories. I sang him lullabies. Heck, even when he was still in the womb, I was singing. I was there when he was born. People would criticize me, saying I was an overprotective helicopter father. I doted on my son. I taught him to walk. I taught him to talk. His first words were, "I love you, Daddy." And And also sometimes I see, like, when I was able to talk to him, I feel like his personality is, granted he's still really young, but I feel like his personality's, I mean, sometimes I worry about what kind of personality those people are raising him with. After all, they're the ones who raised, my psychotic ex-wife, who was so fucking dangerous to my son that the only way to keep her from murdering my child was for him to be with her parents. Sometimes I feel like I'm worried about what kind of person he's turning into. Granted, I don't think I can really blame him. He's growing up in a broken home. He lost his parents, and I have no plans to ever tell him about what kind of person his mom is. I don't know if his grandparents will wind up just saying it to him at some point. I mean, part of me, maybe that's for the best. That way he knows to be, cautious around her. Because honestly, I'm terrified of her. And it's funny, it was somebody I married because I loved the person. I thought I felt safe with the person. Thought I met someone who actually valued me and accepted me. I thought it was someone who would be a good wife and a good mother. I was wrong about everything. But I can't blame him. He went through a divorce of his parents. His mom was not nice to him. And I have no plans to tell him about his mother. I assume his grandparents will probably tell him stuff at some point. I have no control over that. But I have no intentions to tell him anything, because I feel like it would cause psychological damage to my child. I mean, essentially his mother is a monster and his dad is just a broken human being. Heck, I've already told you guys about the times that she left with him a couple times during the marriage, and basically how she mistreated him. And at that point, it's like there's not like there's anything I could have done. At that point, going to the police and stuff, it's not like they would have taken my side in the thing. Either she would have just disappeared with him, or the police would have put more power in her hands, even though she was the one in the wrong. And in the end, it would have made me lose any ability to protect him at all. Literally every choice I made was the correct one, because any other option would have resulted in his death. I had to manage collateral damage. I had to deal with things. I had to ignore my own feelings because I had to prioritize keeping him alive. Do whatever I had to protect my child. In a circumstance that should have never existed to begin with. I will always love my son, and anytime he does want to see or talk to me, I'll always be there for him. And I have tons of video games and anime I want to suggest to him, like the Final Fantasy games and all that. But I still feel sad that I didn't get to raise him. I still feel sad that the bond between us was basically destroyed. And I feel sad that the person he's becoming is different than the person I would have raised him to be. I don't hate women, but I can't see any relationship with a woman being anything other than death. I mean, one, I don't want to ever go through another divorce. I don't want to have another child taken away from me. I will not lose another family. And I will not have to deal with worrying about how a child's being treated while I'm at work. Nor do I have to worry about a society treating me unfairly because I'm a guy. Even if the other person's being abusive. People are based like, oh, you're a man, you should be able to just deal with it. Or like, oh, what kind of pussy? Or like, it's like, yes, I'm physically stronger than my wife, but it's not like, heck, when I married her, I saw her myself as her protector. And it's just... It's weird to have someone that you thought cherished you to turn into someone who's not only dangerous and trying to hurt you, but just constantly every day telling you how much they hate you and wish you were dead, and just yelling at you all the time and insulting you over everything. And your child is like a hostage to where, you have to be concerned about how your wife is, or else who knows how your wife might treat your son. Or disappear with him, or divorce you and take him away from you. And of course, I have even worse self-esteem at that point. So, every time she yelled at me, something I kept blaming myself that, things are my fault. Maybe if I just made some more money, or things were better. I mean, I've never been rich. But I've certainly never been attractive. Like I said, I've never actually met anyone in my life who actually thought I was attractive. And every person I've ever been in a relationship with, including my marriage, when said people broke up with me, they made it very clear to tell me that they always thought I was extremely ugly and unattractive. Heck, one of my best friends tried to cheer me up once. They said, hey, Lunar, you're actually not a bad guy. If only your face didn't look like that. I smiled and said thank you. But on the inside, I was feeling a bit hurt. I felt like it didn't make me feel better. But I smiled and pretended that it did. Heck, my wife was at that hotel room with that one guy. And my son there, I've already explained that in depth. How, for most of that time, he didn't even see sunlight, and the neighbors of that fucking Roach Hotel thought that he was a dog, and that they were mistreating an animal. But I have no plans to tell my son about any of that, just because I don't think it would be good for his mental health. I think it would hurt him. Though I expect his grandparents will at least tell him the parts they know about. But yeah. Like I said, reasons to be gay. One, I do like cock. So bisexual, gay, whatever. Futanari, femboys, Bishonen, Stolfo, Nagisa from Kaoru Nagisa from Assassination, not from Assassination, that's a different Nagisa, but same, I guess. From Evangelion. I'm just saying, those people are cute too, and it's just, you know what? In general, when it comes to relationships, I just care more about Just wanting someone who actually fucking cares about me and is nice to me and treats me like a person. Someone to actually feel safe and actually be safe around. Someone who would never hurt me under any circumstance. Someone who actually finds me attractive. That's pretty much asking the impossible there, but just... when it comes right down to it, I actually do value love and connection and friendship with someone. Heck, I feel sexual intimacy should be a expression of emotional intimacy. I feel like that's a very sacred part of yourself giving to somebody. And I've been with a very low number of people. Many have also been completely alone since my divorce. Very antisocial and I work a lot. Money is a bit tight. But I refuse to lose another family. And like I said, just at least main benefit of going the gay route, other than the fact that I like cock a lot and am bisexual, so at least I have that option. But also there's the fact, I'll never have to worry about going through another divorce. I'll never have to worry about being stuck in a legally binding contract with the government with someone who was abusive to me and cheating on me. I'll never have to worry about a child being mistreated while I'm at work. I'll never have to worry about having a child taken away from me or dealing with a fucking custody battle bullshit or any of that kind of shit, or family court or divorce court or any of that. At least, and air quotes, gay relationship, if the partner were to be abusive or cheat on me or any of that stuff, I can just end it right there and there's no complications in terms of a marriage or a divorce or worrying about how a child's going to suffer from it or be taken away from me. I still would say the day my son was born is the happiest day of my life. I love him very much. It's funny. I'd read books to him all the time when he lived with me. I'd read him like the Winnie the Pooh storybook quite a bit. He'd be smiling and happy, and I'd be smiling and I'd be reading with such a cheerful, happy voice because I was so happy. One of the first videos I made for this channel, I tried reading Winnie the Pooh for a laptop. Made a couple videos like that. Actually, I think I've made 6 or 7 total. But among the first dozen I made of this channel within the first week, I made a couple of videos of me reading the Winnie the Pooh. And I didn't sound anything like I did back when I was reading to my son. I was happy and cheerful and lighthearted. But when I read for the laptop, it wasn't happiness and joy and love of my child that was coming through. My voice was filled with rage and anger and grief and sadness. When I was reading the Winnie the Pooh, there's no way my mind could accept anything other than the fact that I was reading to a fucking laptop. I wasn't reading to my child. I was reading to a fucking computer. And in lieu of that, in light of that, my anger and my sadness and my rage and my grief spilled over into my voice. And during those videos, I sound like a fucking demon. Just because of how a mix of very strong negative emotions were spilling over in my voice as I was reading something that was supposed to be happy. Something that I used to be able to read and be filled with nothing but happiness and hope. I apologize, everyone. keep saying I'll stop going on tangents and talking about things. It's supposed to be a happy channel. After all, every day in my day-to-day life, I'm just smiling. I go to work, I do my job. I go to like Walmart and stuff, and I'll smile and be friendly and talk and wave to people. You'd have absolutely no idea. Then again, I've had a couple hundred things over the course of my life that happened that were actually much worse than anything that happened when I was married. But hey, those are my younger years. So, we all have bad experiences. It's funny. I would never kill myself or anything like that. Heck, I've never cut myself or anything. I have bitten myself. And I have punched myself in the side of the head. And there have been times I've been kind of like catatonically depressed and sad and just sort of laid down and didn't want to function. I know there's been a few thousand times. Heck, I know for a long time I was basically spending every night just listening to nightcore music in the dark in my room with the fan on and just crying. So, but I'm not the kind of person to cry in front of people. Heck, I think the only times I've cried in public or in front of another human being, face to face in front of others, was usually when either somebody died or I was seriously physically injured. But I think it's understandable that I would cry a little bit, when somebody dies. I think that can be forgiven. Now, beyond that, I've cried a lot in private, but that's in private. But yeah, the only times I've cried in public in front of another human being was 99% of the time a serious injury or somebody died. Aside from that, little things, sometimes during a health situation, or I remember when I was very young, there were sometimes I hyperventilated just because, I guess, PTSD issues kind of sometimes can be overwhelming when you're like 11 years old and shit. So, my bad. And, but, I got over that. Heck. There's perhaps a few other things, but I've mentioned those in videos. Heck, I know there's one video I called Inconsequential. It's got a gif of a guy, anime dude with yellow hair, nodding his head up and down with his eyes closed. But yeah. I'm always smiling. But yeah, sorry, I keep saying I won't talk about things anymore. And I'm supposed to be trying to focus on the game. But yeah, you look so happy all the time. But yeah, I'll say this. I've never once attempted to end myself, and I never would. I appreciate my life, and I'm grateful to be alive. Yes, there's a lot of times I feel very emotionally down. I have my entire life for almost as long as I can remember. But I value my life and I appreciate my life, and I'm grateful to be alive. And I do my best to make the best of the life I have. I'll never be rich. And heck, I'll probably never have a six-pack because I've been trying to go to the gym. Though I think we've stayed up a bit later than intended. What time is it? Well, we need to save and quit anyway. We'll see the time. My clocks are over there. Good thing I have 3 fucking alarm clocks to wake me ass up. Because I feel like I'm not getting as much sleep as I should. Heck, for some reason I I recorded part 1 of the Iwahimi game, and it was thankfully the weekend, I think. I'm not sure. And that's the playlist that this video will be in. I made that, and then I guess after recording that part, I kind of stayed awake for like 40 some odd fucking hours. Thankfully it was a weekend, I had 2 days off work. And then I recorded a video of me trying to read a book, like it's a memoir of Junji Ito, the horror manga artist. But I started to pass the fuck out toward the end of it. I was very tired at the start of it, but eventually it just became too much and I had to go to sleep. Then I went to work last night, got off work, went to the gym, got back from the gym. I did the Clatonia Part 13. It's a song by the band The Animals. I had heard it on the radio for the first time on the way home from work and decided, okay. I did at least look up the meanings of the song, and heck, it's kind of like back when I listened to Rammstein back like decades ago. Not only would I look up the German words, but I looked up the English translations and even the explanations of the meanings of the songs. The music videos are pretty cool too, but a lot of music videos are a bit mature. But yeah, I did a video and used a picture of the character from the Iwahimi game. I felt it was fitting for it. And then after that, I drank some caffeine-free soda, watched some YouTube videos about like Mario Brothers and Sonic the Hedgehog stuff. And then I decided to record this. It's supposed to be a short video because I needed to go to bed. It's already technically past my bedtime. I feel like I'm going to have to stop at the gas station before work tonight and get a shit ton of Red Bull now. Because of how fucking not enough sleep I'm going to be getting. Still better sleep than I got the entirety of my marriage. Let's go and save. Fucking 3:36 p.m. You fucking kidding me? Well, I should be able to get maybe 4 hours of sleep maximum, 3. I'll probably get 3 hours of sleep. And of course I'll be anxious about going to sleep because I'll be worried about oversleeping and being late for work or something. I should have been asleep. Probably like 4 hours ago, honestly. So sorry I made such a long video that honestly no one's going to listen to. But I'm going to end this. I hope everyone out there has all the hugs and head pats you could ever need, and thanks for stopping by. I'll see you in the next video. Bye. And now the awkward silence of me taking a second to open OBS to push the stop button, but still technically currently recording, and you're still hearing my voice. I guess the one last note I'll leave you guys with is, again, the music in this game is very, very good. In fact, maybe the music in this game is too good. Bye.